Chapter 35:20. Oh, that's unexpected. Xiao Hua frowned and asked curiously. Could it be that you still have a backup plan for this defensive formation? Ha ha ha, it's not just a backup plan. Lung Qingge laughed loudly. The entire 5-brocade cloud diagram hasn't been used yet. What happened before was just a warm-up for us. Xiao Hua snorted coldly. He pointed at the seal of turning sea that was still in midair and shouted, "Since that's the case, then I'll let you see what this Xiao is capable of. Fellow immortals, why haven't you shown yourselves yet?" How could Lung Qingge let Xiao Hua make the first move? With a loud roar and a wave of his sleeve, layers of cloud brocade blocked the seal of the ocean like the waves of the sea. Following Lung Qingge's command, Beigo Jinming, Shi Buahong, Bai Hou Yuqin, and Jiang Yuming simultaneously stood on the other four sides of the horizon. As soon as the four of them appeared, they looked at each other and took out a silk handkerchief from their robes. This silk handkerchief was exactly the same color as the cloud brocade they each controlled. Seeing the four silk handkerchiefs appear, Lung Qingge opened his mouth. Pooh! A blood-red light appeared and a scarlet-red silk handkerchief rushed out. When that silk handkerchief appeared in midair, the other four silk handkerchiefs moved without any wind. At the same time, they soared into the sky and slowly expanded, looking like four banners. Lung Qingge and the other four raised their hands and slapped the top of their heads. 5 streams of true qi soared into the sky and hit the 5 silk handkerchiefs. Kachacha 5 different colored thunderbolts appeared from the void and surrounded the 5 silk handkerchiefs. Boom! The silk handkerchiefs let out a trembling sound. Inscriptions rushed out of the silk handkerchiefs like millions of tadpoles. Immediately, the cloud brocade within the 5-brocade cloud diagram rushed into the vibrating silk handkerchiefs like a whale sucking in water. The rumbling sounds from the silk handkerchiefs grew louder and louder, and the inscriptions fell into the true energy of Lung Qingge and the others. Slowly, 5 more children appeared within the inscriptions. As soon as the 5 children were complete, they waved their hands, causing thunderbolts to strike the silk handkerchiefs in front of them. The inscriptions on the silk handkerchiefs began to solidify, and in the blink of an eye, 5 strange objects appeared. These strange objects continued to be surrounded by thunderbolts. 5 Qi righteous thunder. Rise! Lung Qingge let out a soft whistle, which was a rare sight. True Qi surrounded her body and spun towards the top of her head, carrying the Z, as she flew towards the center of the formation. The 5 children flew to the center at the same time, and opened their mouths. 5 mouthfuls of genuine qi fell into the void, forming a thumb-sized 5-colored qi mass. Then, the 5 children raised their hands and sent 5 similarly strange things into the 5-colored qi mass. Kacha the 5-colored thunderbolts intertwined with each other, and the 5 strange things condensed into one within the thunderbolts. Ah! This is. Seeing this strange thing that looked like an inkstone forming in the sky, Xiao Hua was dumbfounded. Isn't this the broken magic treasure in this Xiao's space? Of course, this strange thing looked like a quadrilateral, but the edges of this quadrilateral were extremely irregular. Rather than calling it an inkstone, it was more like a high platform. On one side of the high platform, there were 3 protrusions like antennae. On the opposite side of the high platform, there were 2 protrusions, like tail fins, slanted into the air. This high platform was covered with true inscriptions, one after another, layer after layer. On one side of the high platform, there were 3 shining golden inscriptions deeply engraved on it. The position of these 3 inscriptions were almost exactly the same as the 3 tadpole-like characters in Xiao Hua's space. Xiao Hua could clearly see these 3 inscriptions. They were the immortal execution stage. Hiss! Xiao Hua once again sucked in a breath. Today, Lung Qingge gave him a lot of surprises. He didn't think that the thing in his space was actually the immortal execution stage. Looking at those 3 large characters, they seemed to contain boundless majesty, and also emitted a myriad of bloody auras from within, making people who saw them feel an indescribable fear in their heart. Just as Xiao Hua was shocked, behind the distant clouds, a thoughtful face flashed by. It was precisely that Copper Pillar Academy's judge Du Shanjun. However, not only Xiao Hua didn't know. Even the 5 people controlling the immortal execution stage didn't know. Immediately, 5 pitch-black whirlpools appeared in the sky above the immortal execution stage. The 5 whirlpools separately faced the 5 protrusions like antennae. Kacha 5 different colored thunderbolts were born from the void, falling on the antennae. Immediately, the entire immortal execution stage violently shook. The 5 types of thunderbolts flashed in succession above the immortal execution stage, simultaneously condensing into a bowl-shaped 5-colored heavenly thunder, striking towards Xiaohua. 5-Qi righteous thunder. Xiaohua was startled. He didn't dare to be negligent and hurriedly tried to dodge. However, as the heavenly thunder struck down, just like the previous lightning tribulation, the space around Xiaohua was imprisoned. Xiaohua couldn't even move. Damn it! Xiaohua turned pale with fright. Looking at the 5-colored heavenly thunder that transformed into a guillotine and roared down, he really doubted whether his body could withstand it. This was the immortal execution stage. This 5-colored heavenly thunder was definitely a heavenly punishment, completely different from ordinary lightning. Xiaohua's thoughts were like lightning. That 5-colored heavenly thunder was even faster than lightning. It simply didn't allow Xiaohua to dodge. With a loud kacha sound, it had already struck Xiaohua's right side. Xiaohua let out a blood-curdling scream. The flesh on his right arm was immediately charred black. The lightning penetrated his skin at a speed visible to the naked eye, and his originally plump muscles also instantly shriveled. If Xiaohua's demonic phoenix body hadn't gone through 3 gold lightning tribulations and been tempered for many years, this strike would have already shattered him. In an instant, Xiaohua slightly raised his left hand, wanting to use the Blood Devil's saber to strike down the immortal execution stage. However, he slightly clenched his teeth and endured. The Blood Devil's saber is a demonic weapon. It must not be revealed in the hidden immortal continent, unless Xiaohua was willing to kill everyone in the Black Wind Mountain range. Little Thunder. Suddenly Xiaohua's heart moved. He immediately thought of the Thunder Beast cub under the damaged immortal execution stage. This little guy was living a carefree life under the lightning water of the immortal executioner stage. In the past 100 years there was no movement. Moreover, Xiaohua also discovered from the 5-Qi righteous thunders that this so-called immortal executioner stage might not be the real immortal executioner stage. The 5-Qi righteous thunders below the level of a fake were the most difficult to resist. The real Thunder Beast would definitely not be afraid of these fake 5-Qi righteous thunders. Thinking about this, Xiaohua's mind immediately entered the space, preparing to pull Little Thunder out of the lightning water under the damaged immortal execution stage. At this moment, green-robed Xiaohua suddenly appeared in front of Jade Archive Xiaohua and said with a smile, "Fellow Taoist, can you let me go out for a walk?" "Fellow Taoist, are you going out to look for trouble?" Jade Archive Xiaohua naturally knew that as long as he entered the space, green-robed Xiaohua would know what happened outside. He didn't explain and rebuked. Green-robed Xiaohua said with a smile, "Our nascent soul is really weak now. Recently, I have been thinking about how to make him healthy. Isn't there 5-colored heavenly thunder outside right now? Why don't we let our nascent soul bathe in the lightning water, so that it can wash his marrow?" When Jade Archive Xiaohua heard this, his face changed greatly and said in shock, "Fellow Taoist, are you crazy? Our nascent soul is weak, how can it see the lightning? Under this lightning punishment, won't it turn into ashes? Our 100 years of bitter cultivation have become water? Fellow Taoist, you are too concerned and your mind is even more chaotic." Green-robed Xiaohua said with a smile, "Our nascent soul is fused with the inner cores of male and female lightning beasts. Although it can't directly control this heavenly thunder, it is not necessarily afraid of this thunder, right? In addition, don't forget that this 5-colored heavenly thunder is somewhat different from the heavenly thunder that fellow Taoist normally controls. It contains the 5-Qi of Confucian cultivators. This 5-Qi is extremely beneficial to the 5 internal organs. If our nascent soul is nourished by this 5-colored heavenly thunder, it will definitely grow strong. That's right, fellow Taoist. Don't forget that our nascent soul is in the form of a nebula. Even if it can't withstand a blow from the 5-colored heavenly thunder, it can still disperse the power of the lightning tribulation between the nebula." This green-robed Xiaohua said so much, Jade Archive Xiaohua naturally understood. However, this matter was of great importance. He really didn't dare to make a rash judgment. Let's go quickly. If we don't go now, it will be too late. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Green-robed Xiaohua urged. You don't need to pay attention to it. Just send I into the nascent soul. All right. Xiaohua clenched his teeth. He knew that his nascent soul had just been born. If it was an ordinary tempering, it would take more than 1,000 years or even several thousand years of bitter cultivation to reach the large success stage of nascent soul. If green-robed Xiaohua's guess was correct, this was a shortcut in front of him. Of course, this shortcut was exchanged with the life of a nascent soul, and the pain of the lightning tribulation. Let's go. Jade Archive Xiaohua knew that this was not the time for him to think too much. He brought green-robed Xiaohua and little Lei out of the space. In just a short moment, the second five-colored heavenly thunder had already fallen. Xiaohua's back had already caved in a large area. Seeing that the third five-colored heavenly thunder was about to fall, Xiaohua hurriedly sent little Lei out of his head, and urged his nascent soul to come out from his lower dantian. Kachacha, the five-chi righteous thunder precisely landed on Xiao Lei's body. The five-colored thunder flashed and immediately fused into Xiao Lei's body. Only a very small part of it fell down, and this part was once again pulled into Xiao Lei's body by the nascent soul general standing on top of Xiaohua's head. Boom! Under the five-colored heavenly thunder, although it was only a small part, the nascent soul immediately began to collapse. Xiaohua's mind was in incomparable pain. Even his lower dantian felt a tearing pain. Xiaohua was shocked. He knew that the nascent soul and green-robed Xiaohua were both injured. He hurriedly urged green-robed Xiaohua to take back his nascent soul. However, green-robed Xiaohua endured the pain and said, "Fellow Taoist, don't be anxious. I will try again, damn it, you don't want to live anymore." Xiaohua was really anxious. He was about to forcibly take back his nascent soul into his dantian, but at this moment, the nascent soul's body flashed with a five-colored brilliance. It waved its two small hands and a silvery white crystal thread appeared out of thin air. It flashed and immediately entered the nascent soul's body. Then the nascent soul sat cross-legged with its palms facing the sky, and began to circulate its heart sutra. The collapsed soul slowly recovered. Chapter 35-21. That's right, don't I still have the metal essence, new essence? How could I forget about it now? Xiaohua suddenly woke up and hurriedly waved his hand. The metal essence, new essence he obtained from the sword catacomb array, was immediately sent into his meridians. His body also activated the cultivation method to refine it. That rich gold attribute true essence fell into his lower dantian, and transformed into thin crystal threads that rushed into his nascent soul from the void. This is Xiaohua's demon pet? Lung Qingge saw this black monster land on top of Xiaohua's head, and help him block the five-chi righteous thunder. He couldn't help but be shocked. He had never seen a demon that could resist the five-chi righteous thunder. Lung Qingge couldn't help but shout. How can this demon pet resist the heavenly punishment thunder? Not to mention a demon pet, even a scholar, wouldn't dare to resist the five-chi righteous thunder. Monarch, when he obtained this item, wasn't he already informed? Kill. While Lung Qingge was secretly pondering, the distant West Bodhisattva roared. The fire on top of his head suddenly rushed up. Once West Bodhisattva moved, Lung Qingge and the others had no choice but to move. This was the so-called pulling one hair, and one hair will affect the whole body. 5 rays of true energy rushed up the immortal beheading stage. Under the urging of these 5 rays of true energy, the 5 brocade cloud diagrams noble chi rushed into the immortal beheading stage. In the void, another 5-colored thunderbolt rushed out. Kachacha, another bolt of 5 chi righteous thunder fell. This time, the lightning not only fell on Little Thunder's body, it also fell on the nascent soul's body. Pain, tearing, numbness, living a life worse than death. All kinds of feelings rushed into Xiaohua's mind more violently than a storm. His entire body was trembling violently, and a lot of leaked lightning also landed on his body. Damn it, this is really retribution. This Grandpa's Foundation establishment and Gold Core both went through the lightning tribulation, but my nascent soul was in the void. The void doesn't give birth to lightning tribulation, but I didn't expect to come here and experience it again. Xiaohua really didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He could only grit his teeth and endure. The 5 Qi righteous thunders struck one after another, a total of 81 strikes. Not to mention Xiaohua, even the 5 Confucian cultivators on the 5 brocade cloud diagram, as well as countless other students after the 5 Confucian cultivators, couldn't take it. In the end, the 5 people's true qi ran out and the 5 children immediately collapsed. The immortal slaying stage also collapsed and turned back into 5 silk handkerchiefs. They quickly shrank and floated in front of the 5 powerless people. Haha! Xiaohua slightly straightened his back and shouted, "What's wrong? This Xiao still hasn't washed enough. I still haven't washed off the dirty water you Confucian cultivators poured on me. Why was there no more lightning water? Quick, quick, this Xiao still wants more." Indeed, Xiaohua's Yuanying seemed to have eaten a great tonic pill and grew a lot stronger. It was unknown how many years of bitter cultivation it was. Xiaohua, don't worry, I'll let you have your fill soon. Lung Qingge sneered and disappeared into the cloud brocade. The other 4 also disappeared. This Xiao also knows how to sneer. Xiaohua also coldly snorted and said, "If you have any ability, take it out, eh?" The little guy finally woke up. Right at this moment, Lei Zizi, who had blocked the lightning for Xiaohua earlier, actually opened his eyes. He blinked his eyelids and stretched his body in satisfaction. He grinned at Xiaohua and flipped his body in midair, looking left and right as if he was looking for something. "It's good that you're awake." Xiaohua knew that Little Thunder was looking for lightning water. In his eyes, that thing was like the human race's milk. Xiaohua raised his hand and Little Thunder obediently fell into his hand. Xiaohua touched Little Thunder's forehead, and Little Thunder unexpectedly rubbed its head against Xiaohua's hand like little silver, and even raised its neck to lick it. "Go back and sleep a little more." Seeing that Little Thunder's eyes were still a little scattered, Xiaohua sent it into the space again. Sure enough, under the lightning water, Little Thunder fell asleep again. 5 Qi Thunder is really interesting. Could it be that this 5 Qi universe has other uses? Seeing that the 5 Qi Thunder could actually wake Little Thunder up, Xiaohua couldn't help but think more. However, he didn't have time to think too much. Green-robed Xiaohua's weak voice was heard. "Fellow Taoist, quickly send me back to rest. Those heavenly lightning almost killed I." "Hehe, who told you to show off?" Xiaohua smiled as he sent green-robed Xiaohua back. He even sent his nascent soul into his lower dantian to recuperate. The nascent soul gained a lot from this lightning tribulation, and still needed to digest it carefully. Xiaohua had just sent green-robed Xiaohua back when he saw that in the sky, the 5 people who had just hidden themselves had appeared again. However, the 5 people were no longer as arrogant as before, and their faces were clearly pale. Seeing this, Xiaohua laughed brightly. "The 5 of you, don't you want to rest a little more after being tired for so long? This Xiao isn't in a hurry. What are you waiting for?" Xiaohua, don't be too proud," Lung Qingge said. "You have the Dao Sect's Imperial Lightning Technique and a demon pet that avoids lightning. Being able to dodge the 5 Qi Thunder is within our expectations. However, you can only be arrogant for a little while longer. Wait until my Confucian 5 Sons Ascension appears. How can you still survive?" Confucian 5 Sons Ascension? Haha, Lung Qingge, let's not talk about ascension. Do you still have true qi in your body to fight with this Xiao? You're really not afraid of twisting your waist when you talk big. Xiaohua laughed loudly. Who said that executing Confucian 5 Sons Ascension requires the consumption of true qi? Lung Qingge proudly waved his hand and a simple scroll appeared in his hand. Calligraphy scroll? Xiaohua was stunned and immediately thought of the calligraphy scroll that was similar to the Dao Sect's talisman spell. Not good. Xiaohua immediately understood Lung Qingge's intention and secretly cursed in his heart. He had seen the power of the calligraphy scroll on Jiaxing Lu. The law written by the so-called legalist senior Han Cheng had left a deep impression on him. The law character could really be described as Iron Hook and Silver Stroke. Each stroke contained an extremely powerful sword qi, not to mention the authentic work written by the senior Han Fizi that Fujiwen had mentioned. Once the authentic work was opened, it could directly kill more than 100 demon generals. If Lung Qingge had the authentic work of Han Fizi, with Xiaohua's current situation, even if he wanted to escape, he wouldn't be able to, right? There was no other outcome other than death. After the shock, Xiaohua calmed down again. He raised his right hand and held the wishful staff in his hand. His left hand also slightly raised, but after a few movements, he put it down again. The righteous chi of the Confucian cultivator was the nemesis of the demon world's demon flame. If he couldn't resist the power of the calligraphy scroll, he was afraid that the blood devil saber wouldn't be able to either. His cultivation in the demon world was still shallow, and not enough to fully exert the power of the blood devil saber. Therefore, Xiaohua's left hand pointed, and the seal of turning the sea fell on top of his head. Its brilliance overflowed, and the coiling dragon broke free from the seal of turning the sea. The whole dragon body turned into a few feet long and swam around the seal of turning the sea. The ferocious dragon head roared at the sky. Immortal friend, please make your move. Lung Qingge raised his hand and held the scroll in front of his chest. He smiled at Zibahong and the others. His smile was full of ease. It was obvious that he didn't believe that Xiaohua could survive the attack of the Confucian Five Sons' ascension. When Zibahong heard this, he didn't hesitate to wave his hand, and the flashing flame hand grabbed an equally ancient scroll. Beigo Jinming was a bit hesitant. He glanced at Bai Ho and Yuqin. Both of their eyes showed helplessness. They then reached into their small qiankuan bags and took out their scrolls. Jiang Yuming narrowed his eyes and looked at the seal of turning the sea above Xiaohua's head as well as the coiling dragon near the seal of turning the sea. He clenched his teeth and a few feet-long scroll flew to his chest. Seeing the 5 Confucian cultivators take out 5 scrolls at the same time, how could Xiaohua not know the reason for the Confucian Five Sons' ascension? They were actually using 5 scrolls to attack him at the same time. This was synonymous with a gang fight. Ha ha ha! Xiaohua looked up to the sky and laughed. Golden light flickered around his body as he used the Heavenly Law's embodiment technique. He grew to more than 200 feet, and the wishful staff in his hand also grew to several hundred feet. He looked at the 5 Confucian cultivators and said in a clear voice, "The methods of Confucian cultivators are really laughable. You people can't beat this Xiao, so you actually want to go back and ask for Senior's help. This ancient Confucian cultivator Senior actually knows how to show kindness to the younger generation. Even after death, he still wants to leave behind his original work. Forget it, forget it. After beating up the young, I naturally have to bring out the old. This Xiao wants to see what a nest of old and young can do to this Xiao." Xiaohua's words were very sinister. He even scolded the ancient Confucian who left behind the original work. However, Xiaohua's words were the truth. Even if Bai Ho Yuqin's face was a little red, there was nothing to refute. "Humph brat. Give up your life." Lung Qingge unfolded the scroll in his hand. Kung, a huge sword cry came from the scroll. Shwa. A sword light rushed out from the scroll at the same time. Rumble then. A burst of muffled thunder came from the void. Thousands of noble qi rushed into the sword light, and a huge law character appeared above Xiaohua's head. When this character appeared, Xiaohua's body trembled. The 9-sword intense in his middle dantian that could no longer be considered flying swords could no longer be suppressed. Xiaohua opened his mouth. Wu 9-sword lights rushed out and released a strong sword cry in the air. Looking at this familiar law character, Xiaohua's mouth was filled with bitterness. Wasn't this the scroll that he saw in Jiaxing Lu that day? However, this scroll's sword chi seemed to be much weaker than before. He didn't know if Lung Qingge was controlling it wrongly or if Duan Muqing had already used it after bidding for it that day. It's really enemies will not meet. Damn it, this Xiaohua had only seen this thing once in the auction. Who would have thought that in less than 100 days, this thing would be used on this Xiaohua's body? After Xiaohua felt helpless, he looked at the much weaker sword light and felt a little relieved. After all, this scroll's sword light was extremely strong that day, and he was definitely not its opponent. Now that this scroll had been used and he had advanced to the nascent soul stage, he might have a chance. However, before the law character could fall, boom, another loud sound came. Shi Buahong laughed sinisterly and opened the scroll in his hand. Similarly, an indescribably terrifying aura came out from the scroll. Chapter 35-22. It was also a scroll that Xiaohua was familiar with. 2 bright and dark rays of light soared into the sky, stirring up the righteous qi in the formation. Above Xiaohua's head, a huge yin-yang fish was formed. thousands of murderous qi, alternating between light and dark, and a solemn desire to annihilate everything passed through the sky and firmly enveloped Xiaohua's golden Buddha statue. Zhouyuanhan. Yin-yang qi transformation. Xiaohua looked at the abnormal trembling void above his head. His heart was also extremely pounding. What virtue and ability did this Xiao have, to actually be favored by the esoteric debate's authentic work? This bronze pillar country's monarch. Seems like he really wants to kill this Xiaohua. While Xiaohua was shocked, he subconsciously looked at Beigo Jinming and the other two. Their document scrolls had yet to be opened, but Xiaohua already had a premonition that the 4 document scrolls he had seen at Zhaixing Lu would all be revealed today. He just didn't know what the last document scroll was. However, Xiaohua did not panic despite his shock. Wasn't this the effect he wanted? In a flash, the law character had already formed a sword net that could annihilate all things. Under the sword light, the void was completely torn apart. Countless righteous qi also came crashing down. At this level, all techniques and spells were void. Only absolute strength had a chance of survival. Not only that, the yin-yang fish also brazenly activated on the other side. It seemed like 2 completely opposite righteous qi were swirling within the yin-yang fish. This swirling was even more ruthless than the sword net. Xiaohua could almost see the intent of death from the 2 rays of light. This was only 2 scrolls. Immortal friend Beigo Longqinga opened the scroll and very proudly looked at the huge law character descending from the sky. Seeing that Beigo Jinming and the others were still holding on to the scrolls and had not opened them, he frowned and transmitted his voice. Beigo Jinming smiled bitterly and hurriedly said, "State teacher, 2 scrolls should be enough. These scrolls will be used less every time they are used. The authentic works of ancient great scholars are really precious. This is not for you to consider. Hurry up and open them." Longqinga coldly replied, "The monarch has put in so much effort to kill the chicken to scare the monkey. He wants to establish the reputation of the #1 empire in the hidden immortal continent." Understood. Since Longqinga had already said so much, how could Beigo Jinming and the others dare to delay any further? Beigo Jinming shook the scroll in his hand, and a black light soared into the sky. With a similarly loud roar, thousands of green auras rushed out of the void. Surrounded by the light, a huge earth character rushed out of the scroll. As soon as the earth character appeared in the air, it immediately gave off a heavy feeling, which was heavier than any mountain. The noble qi that had previously surged into the law character, and the yin-yang fish surged into the earth character. Ha ha ha, Senior Lu Qingzi of the farmers' clan is indeed a great scholar. Longqinga laughed loudly and said, "This earth character is really heavy. It can compare to many great scholars in an instant." Seeing Beigo Jinming open the scroll, Bai Hou Yuqin didn't dare to be careless. She flicked the scroll in her hand and like a heavenly river pouring down, tens of millions of lights flashed and rushed towards Xiaohua. What was special was that when these lights appeared, a 10,000 zhang tall pillar of energy soared into the sky. The originally seamless 5-brocade cloud diagram immediately had a large gap in it. The power of the stars mixed with the aura of the stars was endless. Even the divine sense couldn't see the end of it. At this moment, the law and earth characters, the yin-yang fish, and the noble qi river surrounded Xiaohua from all sides. Not to mention escaping, even Xiaohua's breathing was heavy. He then looked at Jiang Yeming, who had yet to make a move. He flew in front of everyone, waved his hand and opened the scroll. Just as Xiaohua expected, the void shook violently, as if 10,000 horses were galloping. A 5-colored brilliance mixed with an indescribable aura of righteousness rushed out from the scroll. That 5-colored aura of righteousness rushed into the sky, and unexpectedly formed a several zhang large auspicious cloud, illuminating the entire great array. That 5-colored brilliance and the 5 colors of the 5-brocade cloud painting mutually reflected each other, and was extremely gentle. Boom! At the same time, endless starlight faintly sprinkled down from the gap in the formation created by the scroll, enveloping the auspicious cloud. This scroll was the Confucianism, written by the great Confucian Kong Liwen. It was also this Confucianism that created the auspicious cloud of the 5 Qi's origin. When this auspicious cloud of the 5 Qi's origin appeared, it instantly fell down and joined together with the 4 scrolls that were previously shot out. Not only did this auspicious cloud become increasingly faint, even the strange phenomena of the other 4 scrolls became exceptionally clear. It was as if 5 cultivators comparable to 5th grade origin energy were joining forces to attack Xiaohua. Seeing an unprecedented predicament, seeing an unprecedented attack, Xiaohua's blood boiled, and he threw caution to the wind. His eyes that were originally flickering with starlight gradually turned blood red. He shouted loudly, "Good. Then I'll let you all see this Zhao's methods. See if I don't empty out all of your treasures, then you won't show off this Zhao's methods." Xiaohua's body flashed with an intense golden light. The Confucian cultivator Xiaohua in his middle dantian urged the true qi in his body. 9 sword lights flickered in the air. First it was 9, then it was 18, then 32. Finally, it actually transformed into several hundred sword lights. These 100 sword lights emitted a thunderous rumbling sound and rushed straight forward towards the law character that was like a sword net. Go in the Naiwan Palace, the Buddha Saraira waved the clear water bottle, and a pool of innate true water appeared in the air, roaring as it pounced towards the noble spirit river. Looking at the green-robed Xiaohua again, he had already been pulled out by Xiaohua. He forced the invisible Yuanying to escape from his lower dantian and landed on Xiaohua's shoulder. The magic treasure furnace was also released, and it emitted the same loud rumbling sound. It flashed with a brilliant brilliance and flew into the air. Not only that, the Yuanying also pointed its hand, and the ice mirror also flew out. 3 colors of misty brilliance soared into the sky. However, the difference was that the ice mirror's brilliance rushed straight towards the rapidly flickering yin-yang fish, while the magic treasure furnace spewed out 100 zhang long pillar of fire to attack the black, earth character. Xiaohua himself was not idle. Inside the dragon veins, Xiaohua urged the dragon transformation secret art. The golden essence of gold turned into spiritual qi of heaven and earth, and rushed into his dantian. At the same time, the heavenly infusion technique was also pushed to the limit. Unexpectedly, the spiritual qi of heaven and earth was also produced in the void and directly poured into his body. Xiaohua urged the transcendence golden body, and waved the wishful staff to attack the earth character. Seeing that it was about to collide with the 5 paths of ascension, Xiaohua actually sneered again. He opened his mouth, and a red and yellow spiritual fire turned into a layer of fire net and flew towards the auspicious cloud of the 5 paths of origin. Xiaohua wanted to use his own strength to resist the 5 paths of ascension. Seeing Xiaohua's endless means, Leng Qingge's eyeballs almost fell out. What kind of Taoist cultivator is this? He is simply a cultivator with many treasures. He had never seen a Taoist cultivator before. No, not to mention a Taoist cultivator, even among Confucian cultivators, who could control so many imperial equipment. Moreover, seeing that each of Xiaohua's magic treasures was so powerful, not to mention the innate true water that made Leng Qingge not dare to look at it. Not to mention the hundreds of flying swords that were filled with righteous qi. Not to mention the green and yellow spiritual fire that looked even more simple than the 5-colored auspicious cloud. Just the golden body of Xiaohua waving the wishful staff made Leng Qingge's heart tremble. Today we must kill this child. Leng Qingge's eyes flashed with a fierce light. Today, either you die or I die. If we let this child escape today, the bronze pillar state will be destroyed by his hands. Fellow immortals, Leng Qingge shouted. Let us quickly prepare. If we do not win in one move, we must make the Son of Heaven angry and kill Xiaohua. It can't be? Shi Buahong cried out in surprise. How could this bastard escape from the 5 paths of ascension? It's better to be safe than sorry. Before Leng Qingge's voice could be heard, the 5 brocade cloud painting shook violently. The brilliance was like a mountain collapsing and the earth splitting. The 5 people were unable to stand still in midair. The powerful impact completely tore the 5-colored cloud brocade in the 5 brocade cloud painting into a mess. The chaotic qi rushed in all directions, and the chaotic brilliance was everywhere. It was so dazzling that the 5 people could not even open their eyes. Rip, it seemed to be an extremely weak sound of the brocade tearing, but to the 5 people's ears, it was even more difficult to accept than a bolt from the blue. Leng Qingge and the others were unable to stabilize their bodies. They first looked at their hands, only to see that on the 5 scrolls, Not only did the 5 characters of the great Confucian scholars completely lose their righteous qi, but the scrolls themselves also had countless small cracks. The scrolls turned into flying fragments in front of the 5 people's eyes, and these fragments were swept away by the fierce wind without a trace. How is this possible? Bai Hou Yuqin whispered, her small mouth wide open. Quickly, let us prepare, Leng Qingge hurriedly urged, not caring about the paper fragments that were blown away by the fierce wind. Shi Buohong indifferently said, I feel that there is no need. The entire 5 brocade cloud painting was almost destroyed. Can Xiaohua survive? There. Over there. Bai Hou Yuqin's eyes flashed with a water-blue brilliance, looking towards a corner of the Black Wind Ridge. The joy in her voice seemed to be more than surprise, but she saw a 90-foot-tall giant whose body was riddled with hundreds and thousands of holes. Even his head was split open, still tenaciously flashing with a golden light. He somewhat staggered up from the ground, and was currently struggling to rush up into the sky. Ah! Everyone almost didn't dare to believe their eyes. That was the full-strength attack of 5 cultivators comparable to a 5th-grade essence energy cultivator. Ah! Those were the authentic writings of the great Confucian scholars. Ah! It was already difficult for them to face just one of them. How could this Dao sect cultivator in front of them be able to withstand the 5 suns ascending the throne that they had never used before? Impossible, impossible. Could it be that this Xiaohua has the body of a fiend god? The flames in Shi Buohong's eyes were now dim without any light. His body's true qi Xiaohua was very large. Although he had already reached the realm of refining qi back to spirit, after all, he still couldn't refine his spirit back to emptiness, so it was difficult for him to support such a large array that consumed true qi. Chapter 35-23. Impossible? Beigo Zhenming smiled lightly, and then he pointed with his finger and said, based on Xiaohua's current situation, even if the 5 scrolls were unable to take his life, they've blasted him to the point he's completely exhausted. If fellow immortal has the heart, then you can descend and kill him right now. This great contribution will be yours, fellow immortal. Shi Buohong's heart skipped a beat, but his body was as steady as a boulder. He didn't even move. Xiaohua's body looked very weak at this moment, but on his cracked face the unyielding fighting spirit seemed to be real. It made everyone not dare to look at him directly. Among the 5 people, no one dared to challenge him. No, this Xiaohua is a bit strange. Jiang Yuming frowned, his eyes flashing with deep doubt. Xiaohua's injuries are so serious. Why is there not a trace of blood on his body? Oh, that's right. Shi Buohong also exclaimed. Even if he used a Taoist Dharma idol, this Dharma idol is a physical body, not an illusion. If the Dharma idol is injured, there must be traces of blood. A Taoist secret technique. Bai Hou Yuqin said faintly. This Xiaohua is baiting us. Don't think too much. Leng Qingge's eyes flickered with uncertainty. He shouted, we still have the 5 brocade cloud painting, don't think about luck. Hurry up and prepare for the wrath of the emperor. At this point, Leng Qingge glanced at Bai Hou Yuqin and Beigo Zhenming, and said faintly, for this final attack, we must work together, don't slack off. Yes, we understand. Beigo Zhenming and Bai Hou Yuqin's hearts trembled, and they immediately replied with Jiang Yuming and the others. Seeing the 5 people disappear into the clouds, Xiaohua, who was struggling to fly in the air, felt relieved. He hurriedly endured the indescribable pain all over his body, and urged the medicinal power in his body, as well as the Dharma idol technique, to repair his Dharma idol. Even the blood drop paradise in his bloodline was repairing his physical body under the full power of the devil spirit. In Xiaohua's heart, the dangerous scene from before was still difficult to erase for a long time. Xiaohua's simultaneous use of several divine abilities had long surpassed the ability of a nascent soul cultivator. However, these divine abilities were different from each other. The sword intent of the 9 flying swords deduced the 9 stars transiting the sun. After all, it couldn't compare to the real swords playing the world. Furthermore, Xiaohua himself couldn't transform into a sword to forcefully resist the law character sword net. Several hundred sword silhouettes rushed into the sky, and took the lead to collide with the sword net. This collision was the beginning of the entire formation's shaking. In terms of sword intent alone, 9 stars transit was not necessarily inferior to Wuxia's. The hundreds of sword shadows were like lonely plum blossoms standing proudly in the wind and snow. However, the sword net was even more powerful because of the bombardment of the noble spirit. This incomparably sharp force was admittedly shattered by the 9 stars transit of the sun, but the sharpness of the 9 stars transit of the sun was also worn down. In the blink of an eye, the shattered sword net rushed past the 9 stars transit of the sun and pierced towards Xiao Hua's golden body. 9 stars transit wasn't the most miserable. Immediately after, it collided with Wuxia's nascent soul was the cauldron operated by Xiao Hua's nascent soul. This cauldron was obtained from Taoist Jingru. Xiao Hua's nascent soul only erased the divine sense imprint within it and used the cauldron to contain the frigid ice flame. He didn't specially temper it. Now that he activated the cauldron, the frigid ice flame in the cauldron's flames was indeed monstrous. However, when it truly rushed onto the earth character Wuxia's nascent soul, it only defeated 30% of the noble spirit. Moreover, the cauldron emitted runes that gushed out like a tide under the control of the green-robed Xiao Hua's nascent soul. These runes flickered with an intense might and forcibly extinguished the remaining 30% of the noble spirit. However, that green-robed Taoist Jingru's nascent soul was far from being able to resist the gravity of that green-robed Taoist Jingru's nascent soul. The remaining power of Wuxia's nascent soul forcibly shattered the cauldron. Even so, a small mouthful of golden blood gushed out from the nascent soul's mouth. However, just as the blood was spat out, the green-robed Xiao Hua immediately abandoned the cauldron and spat it onto the ice sea mirror. The ice sea mirror shone brightly and 3 rays of light vibrated, creating a rumbling sound as they struck the yin-yang fish. The yin-yang fish's light and dark rays suppressed the ice sea mirror's 3 rays of light, but the 3 rays of light also suppressed the yin-yang fish's light and dark rays. Even the ice sea mirror's surface started to crack under the yin-yang fish's pressure. Seeing that the ice sea mirror was not a match for the yin-yang fish, the green-robed Xiao Hua hastily pointed his finger at the overturning sea seal that Xiao Hua had left in the air as a backup. Under the coiling dragon's control, the seal expanded to several dozen zhang in size and slammed into the boundary between the yin-yang fish. Under the power of the light and dark rays, the seal finally cooperated with the ice sea mirror to kill Wuxia. The most relaxed one was the innate primordial water. Perhaps Baiho's jade zither was a little merciful. Or perhaps the noble spirit river was originally restrained by the innate primordial water. When the primordial water soared into the sky, the noble spirit river fell into the primordial water and disappeared. Only the powerful impact mixed with the starlight scattered the primordial water. Of course, Xiao Hua himself was not idle. The wishful staff danced, and at the same time the cauldron was shattered by the scroll, it suddenly struck into the air. The earth scroll was completely destroyed by the wishful staff. After that, Xiao Hua's calamity came. The law sword light fell from the sky and covered the earth. Xiao Hua waved the wishful staff and tried to knock down as many sword lights as possible, but in the sword net, Xiao Hua's transcendence golden body was still penetrated by many sword lights. In particular, although the yin-yang fish and the earth scroll were damaged, the suppressive power inside still fell on Xiao Hua's transcendence golden body through the void. Xiao Hua struggled to rely on the protective golden light and the transcendence golden body to resist. His transcendence golden body was inevitably torn apart, and even his head was cracked open. The reason why Xiao Hua could only use his physical body to resist the sword net was that he used all the spiritual power in his body on the red and yellow spiritual fire. Xiao Hua's most powerful means now should be the blood devil blade on his left arm. But in front of the true writings of the 5 great scholars, the blood devil blade was of little value. Therefore, the dual-colored spiritual fire became Xiao Hua's most useful means now. The Confucian written by the great scholar, Kong Li Wen, formed the auspicious cloud of the 5 Qis unification. This 5-colored auspicious cloud connects the 4 scrolls together, and also fuses with the 5 brocade cloud painting. This is already the key to solving the 5 sons' imperial examinations. If Xiao Hua wants to live, he can only focus his energy on this Confucian character. Therefore, Xiao Hua used the ancient fire control art to release the spiritual fire, urging all the gold attribute spiritual energy of heaven and earth in his meridians to immediately turn the spiritual fire into a fire net that was dozens of feet in size. That fire net caught the 5-colored auspicious cloud that was slowly descending. This auspicious cloud was very strange. The 5 colors were balanced, and the boundless chi pillar was not as arrogant as the other 4 scrolls. It was abnormally steady, especially the starlight in the auspicious cloud, which was far more vigorous than Xiao Hua's imagination. Xiao Hua felt that even if he used the wishful staff, it would be impossible to destroy this 5-colored auspicious cloud. The 5-colored auspicious cloud was strange, and the dual-colored spiritual fire was even more mysterious. The spiritual fire just held the auspicious cloud, and the fire and earth colors in the auspicious cloud immediately melted. The other 3 colors also swayed slightly, like a light cloud that was about to disperse. However, the spiritual fire was not completely successful. The auspicious cloud still carried endless power, and it was impossible for it to fall. Obviously, even if Xiao Hua's transcendence golden body was already damaged, the auspicious cloud still wanted to suppress it. At this time, Xiao Hua could only spit out the 3 heavenly hearts that he had not yet completely controlled. As soon as these 3 heavenly hearts appeared, the 5-colored auspicious cloud instantly collapsed. 3 of the colors were absorbed by the heavenly hearts, and the boundless chi also fell into the heavenly hearts. Seeing that there was a gap, the green-robed Xiao Hua next to him actually had the strength to spare. Under the starry sky, a small amount of lightning appeared in the space where the waves of chi rolled, and together with the spiritual fire, it destroyed the calligraphy of the scholarly great scholar. The scholarly calligraphy was destroyed, and the other surviving scrolls also suffered a disaster. While Xiao Hua was hit by the law sword net and the boundless chi, he used his last bit of magical power. A green light flashed between his eyebrows, and the green seal text obliterated all the remaining inscriptions, and even the scrolls were destroyed. The valiant Xiao Hua, with his valiant battle record, had suppressed the 5 scholarly cultivators. But although he had suppressed them, seeing the 5 scholarly cultivators disappear again, Xiao Hua's mind turned sharply, secretly calculating what other powerful methods they had. However, after thinking for a moment, Xiao Hua really couldn't think of what other powerful methods these 5, and the many scholarly cultivators behind the 5 brocade cloud painting could have. This Xiao is an arrow at the end of its flight. How much better are you? Xiao Hua sneered. Even if this Xiao's nascent soul is now extremely weak and can no longer come out, this Xiao still has the metal essence in his meridians, and this Xiao's physical body still has the strength of 10,000 caddies. Even if I have to exhaust, I will exhaust you all to death. At the very least, this Xiao still has the Buddhist sex methods. Ba, this Xiao once again had delusional thoughts. Namo Mithriya Buddha, please forgive me. Swoosh, Xiao Hua flew another 100 feet or so. Suddenly, at the top of the 5 brocade cloud painting, a golden light appeared. Immediately, that golden light was like a blazing sun, illuminating the entire great formation. A power even colder and more ruthless than pressure was emitted from that golden light, and along with the brilliance, it spread across the entire great formation. What is this? Xiao Hua was shocked in his heart. He didn't know what kind of method Lung Qingge had used. Rumble at the same time that golden light gradually fell, 5 thunderbolts appeared about 100 feet above Xiao Hua's head. The 5 children appeared in the air again. At this time, the 5 children were also covered in golden light. Moreover, the 5 children had their hands clasped together, and their waists were slightly bowed. It seemed like a kind of respect, a kind of modesty, or a kind of respect. This golden light can actually make the children bow their heads? Xiao Hua was stunned. When the golden light fell slowly, it arrived above the heads of the 5 children. Xiao Hua narrowed his eyes and saw clearly that this was a huge 5-dragon imperial jade seal. The 4 sides of the imperial jade seal, as well as the top, each had a golden dragon shape. Inscriptions flowed on the surface of the imperial jade seal. As the inscriptions flowed, strands of golden chi appeared from the void and rushed toward the imperial jade seal. When the golden chi landed on the surface of the imperial jade seal, it turned into thousands of tiny patterns that wrapped around the imperial jade seal. Therefore, although this 5-dragon imperial jade seal was carved from jade, it emitted an intense golden light. Chapter 35-24. When the majestic 5-dragon imperial jade seal arrived above the heads of the 5 sons, the imperial jade seal slightly paused. In an instant, a golden light fell on top of the imperial jade seal. This golden light gave birth to several glittering golden words under the imperial jade seal. It was precisely receive the mandate of heaven, live forever and prosper. At the same time, a kind of valiant aura more turbulent than monstrous waves seeped out from these golden words. In an instant, the entire 5-brocade cloud diagram array was shrouded. When the 5 sons become one, you will become the son of heaven. A dignified voice came from an unknown son. Thus, the 5 sons slowly flew to the 5-dragon imperial jade seal. The 5 sons stretched out their hands. Immediately, an overflowing inscription flowed out from the 5 sons, and blended with each other. Rumble hundreds of tiny thunderbolts appeared in the void. Lightning and tiny crystal threads flashed around the 5 sons, and slowly overlapped with each other. Oh, as if it came from the throat, a 300-meter-tall giant's face and figure blurred appeared. After the giant made a sound, it stretched out its hand and held the golden 5-dragon imperial jade seal in the air. In an instant, the giant's hand emitted a golden brilliance. This brilliance dyed the giant's body in a moment. Then, a son of heaven wearing an imperial robe and a tall crown was born in the air. At the same time, the son of heaven's tightly closed eyes also opened. A dignified gaze swept across the entire array. An aura even more ruthless than the imperial jade seal swept through the entire space. Damn it! The son of heaven's gaze fell on Xiaohua's body and coldly said. As if the son of heaven's mouth was not joking, a cold and awe-inspiring aura rushed out of the void along with the monarch's words. One after another, miserable scenes of being beheaded appeared from this awe-inspiring aura. One scene after another, the faint smell of blood and faint screams suddenly appeared. Damn it! Xiaohua sneered. Light and shadow appeared around his body again. The Dharma idol grew bigger and bigger. It actually also grew to a full 300 meter tall. It was not inferior to the Son of Heaven. He shouted, "My life is in my hands. It can be in the sky. It can also be on the earth, but it will not be in thy hands." Ha ha ha. What do thou know? All the lands within the 4 seas belong to the king, and all the lands are the king's subjects. The Son of Heaven coldly sneered. I have received orders from the heavens to bring peace to the world. You are but a mere commoner, yet you dare to try and stop me? Today, I will let you witness the might of the Son of Heaven. The Son of Heaven's voice was like thunder, deafening and resonating between heaven and earth. While speaking, the Son of Heaven raised his hand, and the 5-dragon imperial jade seal flashed with light that soared into the sky and fell toward Xiaohua. The 5-dragon imperial jade seal flew into the sky. 5 dragons flew out from the seal, and turned into heavenly dragons that were dozens of feet long. They landed below the seal, as if they were driving a carriage. Although the imperial jade seal did not change, and was still the same as before, the imperial jade seal's brilliance surpassed that of the heavenly dragons. Even the 5 heavenly dragons, which were hundreds of feet long, could not block the imperial jade seal. What was special was that when the 5 dragons held the imperial jade seal once again emitted a yellow light. This light rushed into the 5 dragons, and they roared in the sky. An unparalleled imperial power descended from the sky. My world is where I control fate. Under my imperial power, gods and demons can be destroyed. The Son of Heaven roared. Suppress! 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 Following the Son of Heaven's roar, the 5 dragons dragged the imperial jade seal toward Xiaohua and suppressed the entire Black Cloud Ridge. In an instant, all living things in the Black Cloud Ridge bowed their heads. Under the imperial power, all living things were ants. Who dared to say no? Even if it was a great scholar, even if it was a literary saint or a literary star, they still had to bow their heads in respect in front of this imperial jade seal formed by fate. The earth is under my feet, the national plan is in my hands. Who dares to say more? Who is the one who will raise the hidden immortal? Who is the one who will dominate the world? Who has a higher battle record than my family? High and mighty, everyone look. My country is as beautiful as a painting. Climbing the mountain and stepping on the fog, laughing and cursing at the sky. Who else but me is worthy of praise? The giant son of heaven was impassioned. His eyes flashed with fanaticism. He waved his sleeves and loudly recited, "Whoever blocks my path, I will suppress them forever." Once the Son of Heaven's words came out, all people prostrated themselves. Even the 5-brocade cloud painting trembled rapidly and suddenly shrank into a thin layer, avoiding the sharp edge. Well said. The world was silent, only the roar of the Son of Heaven could be heard. However, Xiaohua laughed loudly and loudly recited, "Xiao is the beginning, I am here, taking away your 10,000 years of freedom. Carved in stone, recorded in the annals of history, how I rebuked. See how I suppress you. Suppress. Suppress. Suppress." Similarly, 3 sounds that were even louder than the thunderclap tore apart the majesty of the giant Son of Heaven. However, Xiaohua's body was also flashing with an ochre-yellow brilliance. This brilliance rushed out from the surface of his body and condensed into a huge dragon figure that was even more solid than the 5 dragons. This dragon figure slightly closed its eyes, like a sleeping dragon in a deep sleep. It circled around Xiaohua's 1,000-feet golden body. Following Xiaohua's 3 shouts, this huge dragon opened its eyes. Thousands of imperial aura suddenly shot out from the dragon's eyes. Moreover, the suppressive power of the dragon's body was even stronger. Roar! The sleeping dragon woke up and roared. The 5 dragons that roared over all crawled in fear. In front of the sleeping dragon, these 5 dragons were merely 5 little loaches. Even the jade seal that shined brightly before was abnormally dim now. It was like a candle before a pearl. After the sleeping dragon roared, it escaped from Xiaohua's golden body and rushed into the sky. It swallowed the 5 dragons and the jade seal in one gulp. Then the sleeping dragon swung its tail and hit the stunned giant Son of Heaven in the sky. Boom! With a loud bang, the giant Son of Heaven collapsed under this fate that was 100 times stronger than his. 5 words slowly separated. However, before the 5 words could appear, it collapsed again. The already shattered 5-brocade cloud painting couldn't withstand the dragon's aura anymore and shattered. After the cloud painting, many people were revealed in disbelief. Roar! The sleeping dragon flew back to Xiaohua's golden body and roared again. It lowered its head and disappeared into the golden body's head. Although Xiaohua's golden body was still covered in wounds, who would dare to underestimate it now? Lung Qingge, hand over your life. Xiaohua did not retract his golden avatar. With a thought, the sword gourd rushed out from the void. The object with a nose and eyes appeared on the sword gourd. Green and red spirit execution yuan light shot out from the sword gourd and pierced towards Lung Qingge's neck. Who would have thought that while Lung Qingge was trembling in fear, a golden aura shot out from the top of his head. The golden spear swayed and blocked the spirit execution yuan light, preventing it from falling. Furthermore, Lung Qingge saw that Xiaohua was going to kill him. Auspicious clouds appeared under his feet as he prepared to escape. This Xiao might not be a match for you in a round-robin battle, but if it's a one-on-one battle, Lung Qingge, even 10 of you won't be a match for this Xiao. This Xiao has been waiting for you for so long to establish my might. Now it's time for you to die. Xiaohua sneered. He reached out his hand and used the heaven and earth sleeve technique. Rumble! The golden spear was actually grabbed by Xiaohua. As the golden aura was broken, Lung Qingge's eyes immediately became lifeless. He was dumbstruck and didn't move anymore. The spirit execution yuan light fell and chopped off Lung Qingge's head. There was a clear pu sound. There was no blood coming out from Lung Qingge's neck. There was only a golden light that shot up into the sky. A golden primordial spirit was about to escape, but just as it appeared, it stood in the air as if its soul had been stolen. The green-red spirit execution yuan light didn't hesitate. It slashed through the air, and the primordial spirit execution yuan light was sucked into the spirit execution yuan light and disappeared. Only then did Lung Qingge's hot blood spurt out from his neck. Blood splattered everywhere. Humph! Xiaohua snorted coldly. Light flashed around his body as he descended from the sky. He retracted his transcendence golden body and held the sword gourd in his hand as he coldly looked at everyone. No one dared to move. No one dared to beg for mercy. No one dared to provoke him. Even the flames in Shi Buahong's eyes disappeared, revealing two skeleton-like black holes. With a wave of his hand, Xiaohua took Leng Qingge's Qiankuan pouch and took out a silk handkerchief. He raised his head and made a grabbing motion in the air. The five-colored cloud brocade in the sky abruptly shrank and transformed into a diagram in front of Xiaohua. Xiaohua glanced at Bai Hou Yuqin and lightly said, "Bai Hou Yuqin, it seems like you like the 5-Qi thunder." Hearing Xiaohua call her Bai Hou Yuqin, Bai Hou Yuqin's heart calmed down. She didn't dare to be negligent and quickly took out the silk handkerchief. She respectfully handed it to Xiaohua and said, "This concubine doesn't dare. This concubine is a defeated person. I will listen to Xiao Daoist Zhao's punishment." Bai Hou Yuqin was truly convinced to call Xiaohua Daoist Master Xiao. She did not dare to call Xiaohua Daoist Master Xiao as an equal. Xiaohua took the silk handkerchief and put it away without even looking at it. He nodded and said, "Fellow Daoist, you were forced by the royal power. Even if you were forced by the situation, I will not lower myself to your level. However, this Xiao will be the imperial advisor of Jiang country in the future. You will have to avoid the army of Jiang country." Yes, this concubine knows. Bai Hou Yuqin's heart was completely at ease. "Daoist Master Xiao, you don't have to worry about this. From now on, the battle between Copper Pillar State and Jiang country is limited to the battle between soldiers and generals. Copper Pillar State has already lost the right to compete with Daoist Master. Alright, leave behind a copy of your Water Qi Chaoyuan cultivation technique and your ordinary Confucian cultivation manuals. You can leave now." Xiaohua nodded slightly and instructed. This Bai Hou Yuqin was stunned, but she only hesitated for a moment before taking off her Qiankuan bag. After taking out some things from it, she respectfully handed them over to Xiaohua and said, "Many thanks for Daoist's kindness." "Hehe, you're welcome." Xiaohua was overjoyed. He took the heaven and earth pouch and laughed. "When this Xiao is free, I will go to your Ling Yuanya and disturb you. This concubine will be waiting for Daoist Master." Bai Hou Yuqin bowed and left. She didn't want to stay here any longer, so she brought her disciples and left on a cloud. After Bai Hou Yuqin left, Shi Bohong glanced at Jiang Yiming, who was shrinking at the back, as well as Beigo Jinming. He took a step forward and said indifferently, "Daoist Master Xiao, I can give you the flaming brocade cloud painting, but I cannot hand over the fire Qi Chaoyuan cultivation technique." Chapter 35-25. Xiaohua's face was as calm as water. He looked up and down at Shi Buahong and said coldly, "You don't have to show off your unyielding attitude in front of me. To tell you the truth, no matter how forthright you are, when you made the broken tooth beast self-destruct, you couldn't be the same as Bai Hou Yuqin. If you don't want to leave behind the cultivation technique, then I can only take it myself." A spark flashed in Shi Buahong's black eyes, but in the end, this spark did not dare to turn into a pillar of fire. After a while, Shi Buahong took out a Qiankuan bag and obediently handed it to Xiaohua. "And you can leave now." Xiaohua took the universe bag and said coldly, "Thank you, Daoist Master." Shi Buahong cupped his hands, turned around and took 2 steps, then turned back and said, "Actually, Daoist Master might not know, but when he blew up the broken tooth beast, I also felt heartache. If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have come." Xiaohua ignored him and said indifferently, "Tempted by benefits, this is the outcome. Perhaps if you understand this point, you will have the qualifications to fight with me." "Sigh, I've learned my lesson." Shi Buahong let out a long sigh, his body flashed with flames, and he also left with his disciples. Xiaohua raised his head, looked at Beigua Jinming and Do Shanjun behind him, thought for a moment, then waved his hand and said, "A few days ago, I have offended the Copper Pillar Academy. You can go, no need." Unexpectedly, Beigua Jinming shook his head and said, "Wrong is wrong, right is right. That day, my Copper Pillar Academy put the law first and insisted on ruling the country according to law, but the Daoist Master put reason first and insisted on taking revenge. The methods of the Daoist Master, it's considered light." With that, Beigua Jinming raised his hand, and similarly, a universe bag was respectfully handed over to Xiaohua. When Xiaohua received it, he said, My Copper Pillar Academy has a collection of millions of books. When I return to the academy, I will have my disciples send the copies to the Black Wind Ridge. Xiaohua was overjoyed. He bowed and said, "Thank you, headmaster." "I don't dare." Beigua Jinming hurriedly returned the greeting and said, "I have a presumptuous request. I hope you will listen to it." "Hee, it seems that I can't take this book for nothing." Xiaohua smiled. "Headmaster, please speak." The war between the Jiang country and the Copper Pillar country is a war between countries. Although the Copper Pillar Academy is the imperial academy of the Copper Pillar nation, I still have some restraint in the matters of war, and do not allow students of the academy to participate. Xiaohua frowned slightly and said with a smile, "Then why did Lord Academy Head come to Black Wind Ridge? Admiring the moon and flowers? If there's anything you need, please feel free to tell me." Beigua Jinming's face turned hot, and he smiled. "I only ask. Discuss with the Taoist master. If the Jiang country destroys the Copper Pillar state, will the Jiang country be able to keep my Copper Pillar Academy?" This Xiaohua ponders for a moment, then says with a smile, "It shouldn't be a problem, it's just an academy. Who knows how many academies there are in the entire hidden immortal continent? One more Copper Pillar Academy doesn't matter. One less Copper Pillar Academy doesn't matter either. However, I will not interfere in this matter. If there is such a possibility later on, you can explain it to the royal family of Jiang country." Beigua Jinming was overjoyed. He bowed and said, "I thank you on behalf of the tens of thousands of students of the academy." Go, Xiaohua laughed. "Watch more, speak more, experience more of the people's livelihood. It's better than any scheming in the imperial court." Beigua Jinming brought the students of the Copper Pillar Academy and left. Do Shanjun had flown far away, and even slightly tilted his head to glance at Xiaohua. The expression on his face was complicated, and no one knew what he was thinking. In the end, only the Jiang family from the Copper Pillar state was left. The old scholar from the Jiang family, who had previously vowed to kill Xiaohua, had an ashen face as he stood there, watching Beigua Jinming and the others leave one after another, his eyes filled with envy. When Xiaohua's gaze landed on Jiang Yiming gritted his teeth and flew over, bowing. "Taoist Master Xiao, I know that the Jiang family has a great enmity with the Taoist master, but, according to what I know, it's not too secretive. It's just that some of the Jiang family's little villains are plotting against the Seven Sons Temple. And it has nothing to do with my Jiang family's patriarch and the other direct descendants. As the saying goes, a finger that stretches out is not of an ordinary length. My Jiang family really can't guarantee that there won't be scum like Jiang Wenhao in the future. Taoist Master, I don't dare to say anything about him, but I can guarantee that I will give Taoist Master an explanation." Xiaohua stared at Jiang Yiming. Seeing that Jiang Yiming's scalp was numb and his neck was cold, he was really afraid that the sword gourd in Xiaohua's hand would suddenly shoot out the soul extermination vital light. This thing was too sharp, and the current him was definitely not a match for it. When Xiaohua's gaze swept across the other old scholars, they all shrunk their necks, not daring to say anything. After a long while, Xiaohua sighed and said, "Jiang Yiming, I won't hide it from you. When I first saw the corpse of the Seven Sons Temple's old Taoist, and knew that it was your Jiang family's disciples who did it, I wanted nothing more than to kill your Jiang family's disciples one by one. Since I dared to kill my way into the Copper Pillar State Academy, I naturally dare to kill my way into your Jiang family. I know that although you are begging for mercy, you might not be truly afraid in your heart, and your Jiang family must have a way to protect themselves. You are betting that I might not die together with your Jiang family for the Seven Sons Temple's old Taoist. If that's what you think, then you are wrong." Xiaohua dared to kill the state preceptor of the Copper Pillar State Academy, and dared to make an enemy out of an entire country. You simply don't know how to write the word fear. Jiang Yiming's face instantly turned pale, and his teeth slightly bit his lips. Unfortunately, Xiaohua looked at Jiang Yiming's face and shook his head again. "Jiang Yiming, you are still wrong. Our Dao sex cultivators are not like what you think they are, killing people as if they were flax, and repaying kindness and enmity as they please. In this world, there are right and wrong, and the heavenly Dao will uphold justice. If I were to exterminate your Jiang family one by one, I'm afraid that even the old Taoist who has always been kind and benevolent wouldn't be willing. Therefore, you all should return and quickly kill everyone involved in this matter. Remember, including the person behind Jiang Wenhao, no matter who it is, kill them all. Then, offer their heads respectfully to the Seven Sons Temple. Moreover, this matter must be engraved into a stele and erected in front of the Seven Sons Temple. Jiang Yuming's expression changed greatly. Xiao Hua's request truly made things difficult for him. After all, once the stele was inscribed, the Jiang family would lose all face. He didn't dare to agree without permission, and hurriedly said with a smile, Taoist master, you can kill them, and you can also offer their heads. This stele inscription, it must be written down without missing a single word. Xiao Hua sneered. I won't hide it from you. I originally wanted to exterminate your Jiang family to establish my might, but who would have thought that the state preceptor of the Bronze Pillar country would actually come forward? He could be considered to have died in your place. If the Jiang family can't even agree to this, then don't blame me for not showing mercy. Sigh. Jiang Yuming turned around to look at his uncles. Everyone exchanged glances and sighed. This matter involves the family head, so I don't dare to casually agree. However, I will definitely persuade the family head to agree. Good. When Xiao Hua heard this, he didn't dawdle. He waved his hand and said, Since you agree, leave your qiankuan pouches and go. Remember, you only have one choice between washing your neck and erecting the stele inscription. Yes, I understand. I will take my leave. Jiang Yuming knew that he had no other choice. He respectfully handed over his qiankuan pouch to Xiao Hua, cupped his hands, and dejectedly left. Looking at the backs of Jiang Yuming and the others, Xiao Hua sneered. He had become famous through this battle. He didn't believe that the Jiang family would dare to disagree. When everyone was far away, Xiao Hua's figure slightly swayed. The golden light around his body instantly dimmed, and a painful expression appeared on his face. The 5 scrolls of the 5 Sons Imperial Examination Scroll were too powerful. Not only did Xiao Hua completely block them, he even shattered them. Xiao Hua himself also suffered heavy injuries. And in the end, Lung Qingge actually used the Bronze Pillar country's fate to suppress him. This made Xiao Hua secretly obedient. Under the stimulation of the Imperial Jade Seal's fate, Xiao Hua also activated the Dragon Vein to be arrogant once. However, the price of this arrogance was that Xiao Hua's injuries were even more severe. In fact, Xiao Hua could be considered a paper tiger just now. He was truly an arrow at the end of its flight when he activated the Execution Spirit Origin Light. But fortunately, his aura was like a rainbow. Beigo Jinming and the others were already afraid. Who would dare to challenge him? Xiao Hua returned to his original form. His body flashed with golden light, covering all his injuries. Only then did he land in front of the Black Wind Ridge. At this time, the Black Wind Ridge was no longer the Black Wind Ridge of the past. Not to mention the Black Wind Ridge, even the entire Black Cloud Ridge had completely changed. Not only did the 5 brocade cloud paintings Grand Qi blow away all the black clouds, it even caused the majority of the mountain peaks to collapse. There were even more mountain springs and hills that appeared out of thin air. Xiao Hua's divine sense swept across. The entire Black Cloud Ridge was in a mess, as if thousands of indomitable giants had stepped over here. Looks like the ruler of the Bronze Pillar Nation is already confident. After the annexation of the Jiang country, it will be the Jiasa country's turn. This last bit of cover will be torn apart. Xiao Hua smiled faintly, he waved his hand, and a few rays of light flashed past. Rumble with a few loud sounds, hundreds of rays of light flew out from all directions, and landed in Xiao Hua's hands. The capital star formation was removed, revealing the Black Wind Ridge under the protection of the Great Formation. Although Xiao Hua's capital star formation was powerful, it was not complete after all. Furthermore, it was set up using hundreds of jade talismans, and under the attack of the 5 brocade cloud painting, which was equivalent to the Immortal Palace formation. It also revealed a flaw. A portion of the capital star formation was destroyed by the Grand Qi Pillar, and many spirit demons were killed or injured. These spirit demons were from the Black Wind Ridge, Moyun Ridge, and Lion Mountain. The capital star formation did not block the vision of the crowd and the demons. Everyone could see Xiao Hua's majestic posture in the air. Compared to the fear of the people of the Bronze Pillar Nation, what they gained was confidence and pride. They had never seen a person or a demon with such unfathomable abilities. They had never seen a person or a demon that could directly face the entire formation. Especially when they understood that the reason the Bronze Pillar Nation had set up such a large formation in the Black Cloud Ridge was to take all of their lives. Their gratitude, respect, and worship towards Xiaohua had already reached an unparalleled level. So much so that when Xiaohua removed the Great Formation, there was no need for the Black Bear Spirit to speak. Everyone and all the demons knelt on the ground and shouted like a mountain, "We await Master's return." Chapter 35-26. No one in the entire Black Wind Mountain range said a word of thanks. It was just a simple sentence, but Xiaohua understood that this was the kind of sincerity these people and demons had. They were treating him as their true master. "All right, stand up." Xiaohua waved his hand. He did not use any power, but everyone and all the Yao stood up in unison without any hesitation. It was as though there was a mountain of blades and a sea of fire in front of them. If Xiaohua gave the order, they would charge forward. Xiaohua slowly floated to the front of the cave and landed there. Lu Yi and Wang Bianfei were very clever. They had already brought out a chair from the cave and waited for Xiaohua to sit down. The two of them respectfully stood to the left and right of Xiaohua. Xiaohua sat upright on the chair and looked around. Looking at the demons that covered the mountains and plains, he had an inconceivable feeling in his heart. He originally wanted to prosper the Dao sect, but who would have thought that there were only a few Dao sect cultivators who came? But this demon had gathered a bunch of them. Compared to his expectations of just having the Black Bear Spirit to guard the sect, this was far greater. Black Bear Xiaohua called coolly, "Old Master, this one is here." Hearing Xiaohua call him first after sitting down, the Black Bear Spirit was moved to tears. He hurriedly scrambled out from the side and knelt on the ground. "Golden Eagle, White Lion, where are you?" Xiaohua looked and nodded slightly at the Black Bear Spirit, and called out again. The Golden Eagle Great King and Myriad Lion King did not dare to be negligent. They rushed over and knelt behind the Black Bear Spirit, calling out, "This one is here. What orders does Old Master have?" From today onwards, the Black Cloud Ridge is truly our Black Cloud Ridge. This is this old man's cave. Guard the surroundings for this old man, Xiaohua said with a smile. The Black Bear Spirit, Golden Eagle Great King and Myriad Lion King were overjoyed. They kowtowed and said, "This one is willing to die for Old Master." "Go. Take your troops and tidy up this Black Cloud Ridge. Do not lose this old man's face," Xiaohua ordered. "This one understands." The three Yao Kings received the order and led the Yao down Black Wind Ridge. Under the Black Bear Spirit's arrangements, they each chose a direction and started to tidy up. "Xiao Jian Chongling, Qin Xiaoyao." Xiaohua spoke again. "Old Master." The three hurriedly walked in front of Xiaohua and knelt down. The Chongling princess did not dare to act like a princess. "This old man has killed the imperial advisor of the Copper Pillar State. It can be considered as me reclaiming some face for Jianghua," Xiaohua said with a smile. Just now, the headmaster of the Imperial Academy of the Bronze Pillar Country made it clear that from now on, it is time for all of you to fight and conquer. The king of the Bronze Pillar Country will no longer use the power of the Confucian cultivators against you. The Chongling princess bit her lips hard. She was so excited she wanted to shout. She hurriedly said, "Chongling thanks Old Master for acting. Chongling will not disappoint Old Master, recover my country, and destroy Copper Pillar Country." "Master, don't be careless." Xiao Jian seemed to think for a long time before he spoke again. "The Copper Pillar Country's formation is beyond my expectations. The Copper Pillar Country's king's goal is not small. Even if he lost the imperial teacher, he might have other methods and cultivators." At the side, the Chongling Duchess opened her mouth as though she wanted to say something, but when she saw Xiaohua's tired expression, she closed her mouth. Xiaohua smiled and said, "This old man knows. With this old man here, you do not have to be afraid of this. After this battle, I fear no one will come to provoke us in the short term. You all should hurry. This old man is tired and needs to rest for a while. You will have to rely on yourselves." "Yes, this one knows." Xiao Jian and Chongling nodded and said, "We wish old master's saintly body good health." "No matter, just seclusion for a while." Xiaohua waved his hand for them to leave. Then he stood and said, "Qin Xiaoyao, come in with this old man." "Yes." Qin Xiaoyao hurriedly stood and walked behind Xiaohua. Lu Yi and Wang Bianfei once again took chairs and walked behind. After entering the residence, Xiaohua sat down. He looked at Qin Xiaoyao and said with a smile, "This old man needs to be in seclusion for a while. Xiao Jian and Chongling will be responsible for the war. I fear I will have to trouble you with the matters of the Dao soldiers and the sections. This is this disciple's duty. I will not shirk even if I die 10,000 times." Xiaohua's abilities were many times stronger than Qin Haoyue's. How could Qin Xiaoyao not know the choice? He hurriedly bowed and said, "This old man does not know how to train Dao soldiers and the like, so I will not speak." Xiaohua waved his hand and took out a small universe bag. He handed it to Qin Xiaoyao and said, "These are some pills and methods. Take them to your disciples. And if possible, you can take those disciples into your sect, and a few with similar cultivation to you as your junior sect brothers. Also, you can pick some of the talented ones among those Dao soldiers to be your third-generation disciples." Yes, this disciple understands. Qin Xiaoyao was so excited his body trembled. Xiaohua's meaning was clear. "You all count as this old man's outer sect disciples," Xiaohua said with a smile. "This old man does not plan on taking so many of you as disciples." Yes, this disciple understands. This disciple is already endlessly grateful. How could Qin Xiaoyao not know the difficulty of being accepted into the sect? Right, also these are some talismans. You can divide them among yourselves. See who can use what. Remember, do not randomly snatch and be greedy," Xiaohua said as he thought of something. He waved his hand and took out some talismans that Xiaohua repaired, and placed them into the small universe bag. Qin Xiaoyao received the small universe bag gratefully. He scanned it with his divine sense, and his face almost turned pale. He said with a trembling voice, "Master, why so many?" "It's nothing," Xiaohua said with a proud smile. "Feel free to recruit Dao soldiers. This old man can help you forge this Dao soldier into Hidden Immortal Continent's #1 soldier." "Many thanks, Master." Qin Xiaoyao knelt and kowtowed. "There are also pills that you want to use inside. Feel free to take them. These things are all up to you," Xiaohua said with a smile. "Lu Yi and the others, you don't have to pay attention to them." Yes, this disciple understands. Qin Xiaoyao looked at Lu Yi and Wang Bianfei with some envy. "Go." Xiaohua waved his hand. "This old man is in seclusion. Without Lu Yi and Wang Bianfei's call, you can't enter. This disciple will follow master's orders." Qin Xiaoyao's tone was the same as the black bear spirit's. But just as he took half a step back, he thought of something and probed. "Master, from what I hear, you want to establish a Dao sect. This disciple also hopes that there will be a Dao sect on Hidden Immortal Continent. But our sect, does it have a name? We can't use Jiang country, or the name of the former Qin ancestor." Xiaohua pondered for a moment and said, "Then let's call it the Fortune Gate." Yes, the Gate of Good Fortune is exactly what Master wants. Qin Xiaoyao was overjoyed. He turned around and was about to leave, but after taking 2 steps, Qin Xiaoyao thought of something and hurriedly turned around. He smiled and said, "Master," and this disciple said before, "To be the master of a country, you need the approval of others. This old man doesn't need the approval of others," Xiaohua said with a faint smile. Yes, this disciple understands. Qin Xiaoyao also knew that with Xiaohua's strength, if he wanted to be the master of a country, the other cultivators would not be able to interfere. Seeing Qin Xiaoyao leave the cave, Xiaohua's eyes turned and he said, "Oh right, Xiaoyao, what do you need to do for the so-called approval? Go and find out. This old man wants to establish a Dao sect, but I'm afraid it's not something my Fortune Gate can do alone. It's only right to know as many Dao sect cultivators as possible." Yes, this disciple understands. Qin Xiaoyao agreed and left. "Lu Yi, come here," Xiaohua ordered again. "Yes, master." Lu Yi hurriedly stepped forward and bowed, waiting for Xiaohua's orders. "Sit down cross-legged and cultivate like normal," Xiaohua ordered indifferently. Master! Lu Yi hurriedly shouted, right now. The most important thing for you is to rest and go into seclusion. It won't be too late to talk about this after Master comes out of seclusion. Haha, no need, this old man just wants to take a look. I don't necessarily have to make a move. Although Xiaohua was seriously injured at this time, his soul cultivation power was not lacking at all. As he spoke, he immediately took out his soul bridge. Seeing this, Wang Bianfei hurriedly retreated to the cave's entrance and cautiously guarded there. With the experience of opening Wang Bianfei's spiritual roots, Xiaohua was familiar with activating the soul bridge with the heaven-cleansing earth art. As Xiaohua expected, Lu Yi and Wang Bianfei were the same. Their spiritual roots were sealed by a layer of starlight restriction. This seal was replenished by starlight day and night, and would not disappear on its own. Only an external force like Xiaohua's heaven-cleansing earth art could break it. However, other than the strange phenomenon of starlight, the sky full of multicolored light did not appear, and did not attract the attention of others. Alright, you can try to sense the world's origin energy, Xiaohua said tiredly as a green light appeared between his eyebrows. Lu Yi tried a little and immediately knelt on the ground, shouting, Disciple Lu Yi thanks Master for giving me a new lease of life. Disciple can now sense the world's origin energy. Good, since it's like this, then take it as cultivating diligently. Let's see who can enter this old man's door first, and become a senior brother, Xiaohua said with a smile. Disciple is willing to cultivate with Yuan Bianfei, but I don't want to compete with him. After all, it doesn't matter who becomes the senior brother. It would hurt our feelings for no reason. Lu Yi knew that Xiaohua liked to be straightforward and did not hesitate to say the words in his heart. Xiaohua heard and said, Since you said so, you will be the senior brother. In the future, you and Yuan Bianfei will cultivate hand in hand and progress together. Yes, disciple understands. Master, please go into seclusion. The medicinal pills that Yuan Bianfei used, as well as disciple's previous comprehension, will all be given to him, Lu Yi said with a smile. After Xiaohua finished instructing, he let Lu Yi leave. After he came to the cave, he set down the capital star array jade talisman to protect the entire quiet room. Then he sat cross-legged on the praying mat, and patted his head. With a roar, his whole body flashed with a blood-red brilliance. The black flame and demonic blood rushed out of his blood vessels, and covered Xiaohua's whole body. Chapter 35-27. Previously, when Xiaohua was fighting with Lung Qingge and the others in the 5-brocade cloud painting, his blood drop paradise was hidden in his blood vessels. However, after he was injured, some of the black flames and demonic energy leaked out. The vast righteous qi in the formation immediately attacked his blood vessels, making Xiaohua's blood vessels' injuries even worse. Moreover, the demons of the demonic realm were all body cultivators. This blood drop paradise was the best at repairing the body. Xiaohua's current injuries could also be healed by this blood drop paradise. It took Xiaohua a full 10 days to completely repair his severely damaged bloodline and fleshly body. Then Xiaohua reached out and took out Lung Qingge's Qiankuan pouch. After searching for a bit, he found the method to set up the 5-brocade cloud painting. Then, with a wave of his hand, the 5-brocade cloud painting flew out of the space. Xiaohua opened his mouth and breathed a few mouthfuls of true energy on it. The entire cloud painting gradually expanded and covered the quiet room. Although there were 2 types of cloud brocades that looked very thin, the 5-brocade cloud painting was successfully set up. Then, Xiaohua took out 5 silk handkerchiefs. After searching for a bit, he found the method to activate them. He breathed a few mouthfuls of true energy, and the 5 silk handkerchiefs turned back into the immortal slaying stage with great difficulty. However, this immortal slaying stage was pitifully small, and its appearance was also somewhat blurry. Pooh! Xiaohua opened his mouth again, and a sword light hit the immortal slaying stage. Rumble, a sound like muffled thunder came from the immortal slaying stage. However, the entire immortal slaying stage shook for a moment, and the 5 qi righteous thunder that Xiaohua was expecting didn't fall. Little thunder, don't be lazy. Come out. Xiaohua's eyes turned, then he dragged little lightning out from the space, and threw it onto the immortal slaying platform. Sure enough, just as little lightning landed, A thunderclap rumbled from the void and landed on the 5 antennae of the immortal slaying platform. Shortly after, a 5-colored lightning bolt that was only as thick as a thumb descended from the immortal slaying platform. Xiaohua didn't dare to be negligent and urged his nascent soul to come out of his lower dantian. Although the nascent soul was invisible, Xiaohua could clearly feel that it was dispirited and even showed signs of collapse. When the heavenly lightning landed on the Yuanying, not only was the Yuanying not nourished as Xiaohua had expected, its entire body trembled as if it was about to collapse. Xiaohua was greatly alarmed and hastily invited the green-robed Xiaohua out. Seeing this scene, the green-robed Xiaohua shook his head and said, "Fellow Taoist, you're too hasty." Now that his nascent soul was so weak, how could he directly withstand the 5-chi thunder? Besides, without I controlling the nascent soul, how can you be at ease with him under the heavenly lightning? Thank you, fellow Taoist. Jade Archive Xiaohua nodded and said, I have comprehended the 5-chi's unification's cultivation technique. Hee, fellow Taoist, are you trying to comprehend the 5-chi's unifications? Fellow Taoist, you're not joking with me, right? Green-robed Xiaohua said with a smile. As far as I know, the scholarly cultivator Xiaohua seems to have made some progress, right? Jade Archive Xiaohua knew that green-robed Xiaohua was right, so he only laughed and said, Then I will go and refine the 9 stars transit. Actually, in I's opinion, you might as well take a look at scholarly books. Green-robed Xiaohua said while controlling his nascent soul and slowly entering his lower dantian. The righteous chi of scholarly cultivators comes from books. If fellow Taoist wants to obtain the essence of scholarly cultivation techniques, you'll have to personally read some of these books. These books aren't of much use to me. While speaking, the nascent soul had already entered his lower dantian. Following the nascent soul, the 5-chi thunder also strangely followed the nascent soul into his lower dantian. However, these heavenly lightning passed through the void and directly struck the nascent soul. However, in his lower dantian, other than the nascent soul, there was also true essence. When the heavenly lightning struck the nascent soul again, Xiaohua felt a strange feeling in his heart. Forget it. There's no need for this Xiao to worry about anything. This Xiao should just study. Xiaohua pulled his mind out and thought for a moment. Then he took out a book from his small universe bag and started reading. As for inside his body, the green-robed Xiaohua controlled his nascent soul. Under the effects of the 5-chi righteous thunder, the nascent soul was frantically repairing his injuries. Moreover, the nascent soul was growing bit by bit. Although this growth wasn't visible to the naked eye, it was obvious after a long time. Within Xiaohua's meridians, metal essence was also being refined into true essence. This true essence followed the 5-chi thunder and entered the nascent soul's body, becoming the proof of its growth. Within his middle dantian, above the head of scholarly cultivator Xiaohua, the 3-colored heavenly heart slowly rotated. Every day the heavenly heart rotated, 3-colored true essence would be produced and fall into the 5 viscera and 6 bowels near his middle dantian. In front of Xiaohua's eyes, the 3 heavenly tomes were also flickering with brilliance and quietly floating there. The Buddha's Sarira in his Naiwan palace was now chanting Buddhist scriptures, and its body was shining with Buddhist light. As for Dragon Vein Xiaohua, he was now sitting on the 5-dragon imperial jade seal. Dragon Vein Xiaohua's mouth, nose, and other orifices had a golden mist that was like a dragon breathing in and out. This golden mist was then spat out from Dragon Vein Xiaohua's mouth onto the 5-dragon imperial jade seal. The golden mist inside the imperial jade seal would overflow from time to time, as if it was being refined. Within his bloodline, there was a demonic blood spirit that looked very similar to Xiaohua. Right now, its body was also flickering with black flames. It took a very inexplicable posture and stretched out its hands. It looked like it was embracing the world. Endless demonic blood mixed with black flames rushed out from the left side of the demonic spirit's body. At the same time, endless demonic blood mixed with black flames rushed in from the right side of the demonic spirit's body. The demonic spirit's body was moving up and down in a very rhythmic manner. But if someone carefully observed, they would be able to see that this rhythm was 9 shallow and 1 deep. If one carefully thought about it, the demonic spirit's posture was very similar to the old man pushing a cart that Xiaohua liked. Looking at the bone-tempering Xiaohua, he was the most pitiful. His huge body emitted an orange brilliance, and within this brilliance, there was a yellow flow that was constantly being refined. However, on his left arm, there were traces of blood and black mixed together, and a rather eye-catching crack appeared on it. Every time Xiaohua saw this crack, he would gnash his teeth and the yellow flow around his body would accelerate. Clearly, he wanted to mend this crack. Copper Pillar Country, inside the majestic palace, above the majestic palace, not to mention how magnificent the palace was, nor how beautiful the carved beams and painted pillars were, not to mention how orderly the palace was. Whether it was the curtains or the incense, they all revealed a kind of solemnity. Just the dozens of people standing on both sides of the jade steps of the main hall were enough to let people see the strength of the Copper Pillar Country. On the left side of the jade steps, there was a group of civil officials dressed in scholarly robes. The one in front was already over 60 years old, but his appearance was simple and his face was full of righteousness. Although there was a brocade chair beside him, he still stood there with his back straight, and held a green jade tablet in his hand. Behind the old man, there were fat or thin, tall or short. Every civil official's brocade robe was different, and the patterns on it were also different. However, the red glow on their faces was completely the same. Contrasting with their glowing faces were the military generals, standing opposite the civil officials. These military generals were all clad in bright armor, and had an imposing aura. The domineering air they exuded when they puffed out their chests and raised their heads was very obvious. The military generals were generally at least a head taller than the civil officials. Furthermore, their muscles were robust, and they stood there like iron towers and stone pillars. Although these military generals appeared incomparably mighty, if one were to take a closer look, one would be able to see that there were wisps of clear light flashing above each of the civil officials' heads, forming different shapes. Moreover, following these clear light pillars, numerous mighty chi pillars were faintly discernible above the entire royal palace like a tidal wave. Rumbling sounds could be faintly heard. On the other hand, there was nothing unusual as the military generals stood there. However, when the military generals moved slightly, not only would there be the sound of armor clanging, there would also be a mighty chi surging over. The Bronze Pillar Country's civil officials and generals were so imposing, but compared to the Bronze Pillar Country's king, who was sitting on the Jade Dragon throne, they were far inferior. At this moment, there was a middle-aged man about 40 years old sitting on the dragon throne. This person had a square face, and his face was angular. His eyebrows were thick and black, and they were shaped like sharp swords. Under his eyebrows, the black and white in his eyes revealed a sharp glint. It was the intent of a sharp sword. Although this person was wearing a bright yellow dragon robe, there was a layer of golden armor under the dragon robe. The inscriptions on the armor floated slightly, flashing with a myriad of auras. These thousands of chi images floated in front of the dragon throne, and immediately rushed into the air. That was where the king's crown was. The king's crown was bright yellow, and strings of crystal clear pearls were attached to the edges of the crown. The chi images of the inscriptions rushed up, and the bright yellow on the crown swayed slightly. A faint ding-dong sound could be heard, and the bright yellow color turned into the shape of a faintly discernible dragon. Roar, perhaps it was in the void, or perhaps it was in people's hearts, but a dragon's roar sounded in the royal palace. A thick dragon rushed out from the king's crown, and pierced through the roof of the royal palace. Regardless of whether it was the pure aura of the civil officials, or the noble aura of the military generals, all of them bowed down at this moment. When the dragon's roar ended, the dragon slowly descended and coiled above the monarch's head like a crouching dragon. At this moment, the king opened his mouth and said, "Everyone." As the king moved, the sleeping dragon above the king's head suddenly moved. Its tightly closed eyes opened, and an indescribable pressure instantly appeared and engulfed the entire royal palace. All the officials bowed and replied, "Long live the king." Everyone. The king raised his hand and looked around with incomparable arrogance. He said calmly, "How's the discussion on the crusade against the Gu kingdom, the Jiming kingdom, the Jiasa kingdom, and the Yifeng kingdom?" "My king." As soon as the king finished speaking, an old man in his 70s hurriedly stepped out from among the civil officials. He held a jade tablet in his hand and bowed. I've gathered the assistant ministers of the Ministry of War and discussed with General Haohu, General Wenfeng, and the others several times. We've come to a conclusion. Minister Yu, please speak, the king said with a smile. Chapter 35-28. The old man was the Minister of War of the Copper Pillar country Yuzhong. When he heard the king's order, he calmly looked at the jade in his hand. He coughed and said, I have analyzed the situation of the 4 countries. The countries of Gu and Yifeng were founded by Confucian cultivators, Jiming was founded by Taoist cultivators, and Jiasa was recently supported by Buddhist cultivators. Just from the surface, our Copper Pillar country should attack Jiming and Jiasa. The Jiasa is very close to our Copper Pillar country, and isn't very strong. However, General Haohu's meaning is that the Yifeng country is controlled by the Yu family, a 7th-ranked aristocratic family. The Gu country is the territory of the Gu family, a 7th-ranked aristocratic family. The aristocratic families below the 7th rank do not have any deterrent power in front of my Bronze Pillar country. Especially, the Confucian schools of these 2 countries are. The agricultural school does not have much weight among the Confucian cultivators, and the national strength of the 2 countries is not much stronger than the Jiasa country. Although the Jiasa country is controlled by Buddhist cultivators, and does not seem to be strong. The Buddha statues are now spread all over the hidden immortal continent, and I have never heard of the Buddha country being destroyed by someone. If my Bronze Pillar country is not careful, I am afraid that the Buddhist sect will take revenge on me. My king also knows that those monks are the most sinister, and they also care about face. If my Bronze Pillar country is not careful, I might be besieged by several Buddhist countries. King, please make a decision. What about the Jiming country? Seeing that Yu Zhong did not mention the Jiming country, the king could not help but ask with interest. Yu Zhong hesitated for a moment, then said respectfully, My king, this old subject and the others feel that although it is easy to destroy the country of Jiang, the remnants of the Tao sect are too stubborn. Today, the imperial advisor still has to bring many disciples to the Black Cloud Ridge. I, the Bronze Pillar country, might as well leave such a hard bone to gnaw on in the future. General Haohu, General Wenfeng, do you all think the same? No one had seen the expression on the monarch's face before. They only heard him ask indifferently. The 2 tiger generals in the middle immediately stepped out from the row of military generals opposite the civil official. They cupped their fists and bowed. My king, we originally thought that if we attacked the country of Confucian cultivators, the aristocratic families of Confucian cultivators would be dissatisfied. Therefore, we might as well attack the countries controlled by the Buddhist sect and Tao sect first. The Buddhist sect has always been united. Moreover, the Buddhist sect's forces have recently invaded the Zhongxian mainland. Now that the longevity town in the country of Xi is the focus of everyone, and it is so close to the Bronze Pillar country, we shouldn't cause any more trouble. However, the fact that Jiang Tianheng, Pan Xing, Su Kuan, and the others were killed by Tao League cultivators in Black Cloud Ridge without anyone noticing was truly out of our expectations. What's more, Imperial Advisor Lung has come to the Black Cloud Ridge in person, and the result of the battle is still unknown. We don't know the strength of the remaining Taoist. We don't know if the Jiming country has anything to do with this. Therefore, we suggest that we attack the Confucian country first, and leave the Taoist country behind. Your thoughts are very considerate. I'm very pleased. The emperor seemed to be very happy and said with a smile. Then he raised his hand and said, Prime Minister, you should sit down too. The principle of the country has passed, but the affection of the family has come. If you don't sit down, I'll feel like walking on pins and needles. Thank you, my king, for granting me a seat. The old man in front of the civil official bowed slightly and sat down calmly. The civil official behind him looked respectful. When the old man sat down, the emperor asked again, Prime Minister, what do you think? I'm already old and no longer have the ability to eat. My king cherishes old friendships, and allows me to take a breather here. I'm very grateful. I still need my king to make a decision on the movement of this country. The old man was very humble. After talking for a long time, he didn't even have the slightest idea. However, the emperor said regretfully, Alas, you're all so old. When I was still a child, you were the one in charge of the imperial court. At that time, you were my sky. I'm ashamed I don't dare. When the old man heard this, he hurriedly stood up. Back then my king was still young, and Jiang country and Jiasa country were eyeing him covetously. This old subject did not dare to relax in the slightest. My king is the ruler of the ages. A single thought is 100 times better than this old subject. This old subject will persevere for a few more days. Then I will ask my king to retire and return to my hometown. At that time, I will have to ask my king for permission. Prime Minister, please sit. When the king saw this, he hurriedly raised his hand and said, Prime Minister is the bronze pillar of my bronze pillar country. How can you easily leave the imperial court? Don't mention returning to your hometown in the future. Sai, the old man sighed and sat on the brocade chair while trembling, looking somewhat dejected. However, just as he sat down, his eyes, which seemed to be blurred by old age, casually glanced at the dragon table in front of the king. Surprise suddenly appeared in his eyes, and his but almost touched the brocade chair as he stood up again, exclaiming, My king! Then, the 5-dragon jade seal. Why is it gone? When the old man said this, all the officials were shocked and looked at the dragon table. Indeed, the jade seal that was usually placed on the dragon table had disappeared without a trace. Haha, Prime Minister, don't be anxious. Everyone, don't panic. I originally wanted to wait for the imperial tutor's triumphant return before telling all of you about this. I didn't expect Prime Minister to notice this. Lung Chinga. Prime Minister looked a little angry and said sternly, How did this fellow bewitch my king? However, just as Prime Minister finished speaking, he immediately realized that his words were inappropriate. He hurriedly bowed and said, Forgive me, my king, this old subject has offended you. Haha, Prime Minister, you are wholeheartedly devoted to the country and see me as your nephew. How can I not understand your concern? How can I blame you? The king was not angry. He smiled and said, Prime Minister, please take a seat. This matter has nothing to do with Imperial Tutor Lung. When the old man sat down, the king said, Everyone, you don't have to worry about the remnants of the Black Cloud Ridge anymore. The Imperial Tutor has already brought the disciples of the Imperial Academy, Ling Yuanya, Shallow Moon Ridge and the Jiang family to the Black Cloud Ridge to set up a great formation. This great formation, haha, even a peak 5th grade elemental energy cannot escape. Furthermore, the Imperial Tutor has obtained a secret technique to use the fate of the Bronze Pillar Nation to suppress the Taoist cultivators. This secret technique is foolproof. The Imperial Tutor will return triumphantly. From then on, the Taoist nation will be terror-stricken, and no one will dare to go against the Bronze Pillar Nation. In my opinion, all of you are too narrow-minded. There is no need to consider whether the Confucian nation is invincible, or the Buddhist nation is invincible. You only need to consider the strength of the Bronze Pillar Nation, and act according to your capabilities. From your words, it seems like you already have a plan. We are all ears. The Minister of War, Yu Zhong, seized the opportunity and laughed. The king stood up proudly and waved his hand. He said, Now that the Bronze Pillar Nation has a strong army and valiant soldiers, we have just annexed the Jiang country and our morale is at its peak. We should take advantage of this victory and conquer the Jiming nation and Yifeng nation. Everyone in the palace was stunned. Even the Prime Minister's father, who claimed that he didn't care about the court, was tongue-tied. It was obvious that the king's words were beyond their expectations. The king was very satisfied with this effect. He waved his hand and the dragon on his crown roared. He proudly said, Wherever my sword points, nothing will stand in its way. Wherever my gaze reaches, it is all the land. Long live the king, long live the king. The officials didn't dare to stand up. They all knelt down and cheered. At this time, the dragon roared again. With a whoosh, the dragon rushed straight to the top of the palace. Boom! A huge hole appeared on the top of the palace. The inscriptions on the top of the palace flickered. There was no way to stop it. The officials were even more shocked. Their eyes stared straight at the dragon on the king's body. It rushed into the sky and entered the void. The king's body shone with a golden light. When they looked at the king again, his face first showed the same astonishment. Then he sneered. His eyes flashed with incomparable confidence. He waved the sleeves of his dragon robe and shouted, The earth is under my feet. The national plan is in my hands. Who dares to speak more? Who is the one who will raise the hidden immortals? Who is the one who will dominate the country? Who has a higher battle record than my family? High and mighty, everyone look. My country is as beautiful as a painting. I climb the mountain and step on the fog. I point at the sky and laugh. Who else but me can praise? Whoever stands in front of me and blocks my footsteps, I will suppress them forever. Long live His Majesty, long live His Majesty, long live His Majesty. An indescribable surge of hot blood surged in everyone's hearts. Everyone in the royal palace kowtowed to the ground and loudly shouted, "We will sacrifice our blood to the copper pillar and achieve greatness throughout the ages." Unfortunately, before their cheers died down, an even more powerful dragon roar sounded again. The wind and clouds above the palace changed drastically. Thousands of dark clouds gathered and the wind howled. A thunderbolt as thick as a child's arm struck from the void. It hit the palace and splendor splashed in all directions. In an instant, half of the palace collapsed. In the void, where the king's dragon aura rushed out, an even more powerful and ferocious dragon had popped out and swallowed the dragon aura that had yet to rush into the void. Although the huge dragon body in the mouth didn't come out from the void, the dragon aura above the king's head was still sucked dry by the dragon head. Roar before the dragon head left, it shook its head. The dragon's eyes swept across the palace. Its gaze was full of disdain. Moreover, the dragon head even spoke in human language. "Shao is the beginning. I am here to rob you of your freedom. This stone will be engraved in the annals of history. It will be passed down from generation to generation. Watch how this Shao suppresses you." With the dragon aura gone, not only did the dragon disappear, but also the fate of the copper pillar stayed on the king's body. The king stood there in a daze like a clay statue. The king wasn't the only one who was stunned. All of the officials in the palace knelt there. They didn't know what to think or what to say. After an unknown amount of time, the prime minister's father, who was kneeling on the ground, was the first to come to his senses. He immediately stood up and shouted, "Palace guards! Palace guards! Your servant is here." A few trembling palace guards hurriedly ran out from the palace gates and knelt in front of the prime minister's father. "Lock the palace gates and seal off all information." The prime minister's father's face was as ferocious as a dragon's. He said word by word, "If any rumors about what happened today are discovered, kill them immediately." Chapter 35-29. Yes, sir. A few palace guards received the order and hurriedly ran out of the royal palace. General Wenfeng Xiang Fu called out again. General Wenfeng hurriedly stood up and cupped his fists. "This general is here. Take the commander's seal and mobilize the troops from all over the place. Guard the area that has been conquered and do not take any action. Temporarily wait for the king's next order." This general obeys. General Wenfeng answered and left. Xiang Fu called out again. General of Agile Cavalry, this general is bring your troops and rush to the left of the palace to guard against the remnants of Jiang country's sneak attacks. Yes, General Hao, who just as Prime Minister's father was about to give another order, the monarch spoke first. Bring all my beloved subjects to Qingxin Palace to rest. Then discuss with the Ministry of War and the Ministry of Revenue how to deal with the situation. I will first discuss with Prime Minister's father, and will be there soon. Yes, sir. General Hao, who received the order, and placed his hand on the treasured sword at his waist. He walked to the front of the hall door and coldly looked at the officials. Seeing that the king had returned to normal and was calmly giving orders, a smile appeared on his father's face as he slowly sat down on the embroidered chair. Many of the officials crawled up from the ground. Some of them had doubt in their eyes, some had panic on their faces, some were confident, and some were calm. They slowly retreated from the royal palace and followed the flow of people to other places. All of you leave. The king looked at the palace guards around him, as well as some palace maids and eunuchs who were trembling in fear. He waved his hand and instructed, "No one is allowed to stay within 100 feet of the royal palace. If anyone approaches, they will be killed immediately." Yes, sir. The palace guard roared as if emboldened, and retreated with the palace maids and eunuchs. When the royal palace was quiet, the king no longer spoke. He only quietly stared at the roof of the palace where the dragon chi had broken through, staring at it for a long time. On the other hand, Xiangfu was calm at this moment. He leisurely sat on the embroidered chair and looked at the king. His previously respectful eyes now had a trace of affection. Prime Minister, after a while, the monarch finally spoke, but his eyes never left the sky above his head. I haven't seen the blue sky for a long time. Looking at it today, the sky hasn't changed much. It's still as blue as when I followed you to the imperial garden when I was young. That's right, this old subject still remembers. Back then, this old subject was explaining the thoughts of an emperor to my king, but my king didn't listen and instead looked at the blue sky. This old subject was so angry that I even slapped my king a few times. A faint smile appeared on the Prime Minister's face. My king, do you still remember what you said that day? Sigh, Prime Minister. There's no one else in the imperial palace right now. Prime Minister, please call me by my name. The monarch sighed and said, at that time, I was still young. I don't really remember what I said. Ing Hong, you said something like, the sky is so blue and beautiful, and the sky is so big and broad. Husband, if your son's heart is as big as the sky, how great would that be? Ing Hong laughed. That's right, Ing Hong, Xiangfu said with a smile. The wrinkles on his face were full of smiles. At that time, this old subject was dumbfounded. You were only 6 years old, but you actually said something so philosophical. This old subject's hands couldn't continue to hit you. Haha, it's just a child's joke. Prime Minister, you actually remember it so clearly. The monarch smiled helplessly. Xiangfu said with a serious face, Ing Hong, if you think that way, then you're wrong. The bigger your heart, the taller the sky. Only a broad heart can allow you to gallop in this world. If the ancestors of the Ing family didn't have such a heart bigger than the sky, how could they have established the Bronze Pillar Nation? At this point, Xiangfu hesitated for a moment before continuing. Actually, the so-called dragon-shaped providence is only the providence of the nation after the ancestors of the Ing family established the nation. This dragon chi is just a symbol, not the source. Sigh, Prime Minister Ing Hong slowly walked to the jade platform and squatted in front of Xiangfu. He held Xiangfu's hand and said, in this world, I no longer have any relatives, nor do I have anyone I can trust. Prime Minister, you have more weight in my heart than my father. In front of Prime Minister, I shouldn't hide anything. However, there are many things that I don't dare to tell you because I'm afraid of implicating you. Actually, what I'm worried about isn't the Imperial Jade Seal, nor is it the Dragon Chi. Honger. Xiangfu anxiously called out Ing Hong's nickname. He asked, what do you mean by that? Prime Minister, you're probably still wondering why I didn't discuss it with you before sending the state preceptor to Black Cloud Ridge to exterminate the remnants of the Taoism, right? Ing Hong smiled. Furthermore, Prime Minister, you've repeatedly written to me that I should think thrice before acting, and that I shouldn't rashly attack a neighboring nation. Sigh, that's true. Xiangfu held Ing Hong's hand as if he was looking at his own son and grandson. He sighed. My king has always been wise and farsighted, and he's good at ruling the country. My Bronze Pillar country is stronger than Jiang country and Jiasa country, but if we want to devour them, especially the two countries that my king mentioned today, we're still unable to do so. This old subject feels that I can't keep up with my king's train of thought. I also feel that Lung Chinga is bewitching my king, which is why I'm so angry. Prime Minister, you've misunderstood the state preceptor, and you've also misunderstood me. Prime Minister, please take a look at what this is. Ing Hong pulled his hand out of Prime Minister's father's hand, then reached into his bosom, and took out a palm-sized medallion. The medallion looked very ordinary, but as soon as it appeared in the air, it immediately produced a 5-colored cloud, which swirled around the medallion and formed a palace about half a foot to the left. Immortal Palace Token? Surprise appeared in Xiangfu's eyes. He exclaimed softly, where did my king obtain this item? Prime Minister, this item should have been given to me by an envoy of the Immortal Palace half a year ago, Ing Hong explained. Along with this Immortal Palace token were the 5 brocade cloud painting, the 5 Chi Righteous Thunder method, and other items of the Immortal Palace. The envoy of the Immortal Palace said clearly that the Immortal Palace had taken a fancy to my Bronze Pillar country's prosperity, so they helped, and wanted my Bronze Pillar country to become the #1 empire of the hidden Immortal Continent. However, the envoy also said clearly that this matter was a secret that no one could know, fearing that it would cause dissatisfaction among the other Confucian countries of the hidden Immortal Continent. Xiang Fu frowned as he stared at the Immortal Palace token, as if he was thinking about something. After a long while, he finally opened his mouth. Thus, my king did not discuss with this old official, and decided on a plan to conquer Jiang country with the imperial advisor, and took down Jiang country with lightning speed. Then he let Jiang country's Chongling princess escape, wanting to use this to bait Jiasa country, and then take over Jiasa country? Yes, this is what I meant. Ing Hong did not conceal and said, Jiasa country was founded by Buddhist cultivators, and that group of bald donkeys is very united. My Bronze Pillar country rashly attacking will cause dissatisfaction among the other countries. If Jiasa country interferes in the matter of the Chongling princess, this one can legitimately attack. Unfortunately, the Chongling princess did not escape to Jiasa country, and was saved by a Taoist cultivator called Xiaohua at Black Cloud Ridge. This Xiaohua broke into my Bronze Pillar Imperial Academy under the blood steel in Sevenyang Temple, and ruined this one's face. Xiang Fu opened his mouth, but seemed to think of something, and closed it, listening to Ing Hong's explanation. The soldiers this one sent to kill the Chongling princess were all killed, and this one realized that this Xiaohua was skilled, and even the faction behind him was very strong. Ing Hong said, so this one discussed with the imperial preceptor, and gave him the 5 brocade cloud painting, and the 5 Qi righteous thunder method that the immortal envoy gave him, and told him to kill Xiaohua at Black Cloud Ridge no matter what. But then the imperial preceptor and the others besieged Black Cloud Ridge for almost a month, and did not see Xiaohua fight. Instead, those demons and the remnants of Jiang country showed up. The imperial preceptor was afraid something would happen, and discussed with this one. This one took out the country's stabilizing jade seal, and also gave him the secret art that the immortal envoy gave him. In this one's view, even if Xiaohua of the Taoist sect is powerful, he can avoid the 5 Qi righteous thunder, and the 5 suns ascension of the 5 brocade cloud painting. But he cannot avoid the wrath of the Son of Heaven. That is the pure destiny of a country. How can the Taoist sect disciples understand this? But, who would have thought? At this point, Ing Hong was slightly dejected because Xiaohua's dragon energy was many times stronger than his. He really went for wool and came home shorn. It seems that Lung Chinga will not be able to return, and the people of the Imperial Academy will not be able to return. Xiang Fu nodded. My king has suffered great losses this time. Yes, I am not worried about the dragon energy being swallowed. After all, the Bronze Pillar country is under my control. Ing Hong replied. But the 5 brocade cloud painting and the 5 Qi righteous thunder technique were given by the immortal envoy. If the immortal envoy comes to patrol, I will not be able to deal with it. My king, have you thought about why the immortal envoy came to find you? Could it be that there is no country in the hidden immortal continent that is stronger than our Bronze Pillar country, and more prosperous in destiny? There should be plenty of countries that are stronger. Ing Hong was stunned and did not understand. If we are talking about destiny, this is what the immortal envoy said, right? Xiang Fu was somewhat disdainful, and actually interrupted Ing Hong. But Ing Hong did not find it strange at all, and nodded. Indeed. To be honest, I have thought about it too. Although the immortal envoy has proposed other conditions, but if I think about it carefully, I am afraid this matter is related to the country of Xi. Sai, my king, since you understand, why do you have to enter the trap? Xiang Fu sighed. The battle between immortals and Buddhas is unpredictable. If we are not careful, we will not even have a corpse left. Why should our Bronze Pillar country get involved in this muddy water? Xiang Fu, with our Bronze Pillar country's position and strength, it is the best place to rule the country of Xi. Ing Hong smiled bitterly. If the Immortal Palace is looking for a country, it has to be our Bronze Pillar country. My king has probably seen through it long ago, but you want to borrow the Immortal Palace's wind to sweep our Bronze Pillar country's flag all over the hidden Immortal Continent, right? Xiang Fu is the one who knows me well. Ing Hong nodded. If not for the sudden appearance of Black Cloud Ridge's Xiaohua, this one's plan should have been carried out smoothly. Forget it. Many thanks, my king, for telling this old subject. Hearing this, Xiang Fu frowned and said, this was originally an excellent opportunity for the rise of our Bronze Pillar country. However, the appearance of the Dao sect's Xiaohua made my king's plan go awry. The most important thing now is how to get rid of Xiaohua, take back the Immortal Palace's item, and push everything to our desired trajectory. Chapter 35:30. Prime Minister's father, I suddenly have a bad feeling. Ing Hong said in a low voice. If the Immortal Palace can choose me, then the Dao sect. In other words, the power behind Xiaohua. Could it be that Xiaohua wants to take advantage of the chaos? That's extremely possible. The Prime Minister's father nodded. However, the Dao sect is weak in my hidden immortal continent. We don't need to care about it. Let's resolve the crisis in front of us first. Prime Minister, what's the plan? Ing Hong asked respectfully. The Prime Minister's father smiled as he looked at Ing Hong and said, this old official thought about it just now, and there should be a plan that can be said to kill 3 birds with 1 stone. I wonder if my king would like to hear it? Kill 3 birds with 1 stone. Ing Hong frowned, somewhat puzzled. This old official remembers that when the Jiang country was destroyed, Lung Qingde killed the Jiang country's imperial advisor, Qin Haoyue. Where is he imprisoned? The Prime Minister's father asked. It should be in the Jade Mountain dungeon. Ing Hong thought of something and his eyes lit up. This old official does not know about this. I believe that the remnants of the Jiang country, and even the Dao sect's Xiaohua do not know about this either. If Xiaohua wants to help Princess Ling restore the country, he must borrow the power of the Jiang country's original Dao sect. Otherwise, he will have no reason to do so. The Prime Minister's father said calmly, my king can send an expert to guard the Jade Mountain, and take the opportunity to capture Xiaohua. Ing Hong was distressed and sighed. Prime Minister's father, the problem is that the imperial advisor is unable to kill Xiaohua with the power of the 5 Qi Thunder, so I have no other methods to capture him. My Bronze Pillar country doesn't have it, but the hidden immortal continent does. The Prime Minister's father laughed. Even if the Confucian cultivators don't have it, there are still the Buddhist sect and the Dao sect. Moreover, Xiaohua took my Bronze Pillar state's 5-dragon imperial jade seal. According to what this old minister knows, this 5-dragon imperial jade seal is not an ordinary imperial jade seal. It was passed down from ancient times. That Immortal Palace's emissary is afraid that because my king has this 5-dragon imperial jade seal, he left behind the secret method of using dragon qi. I understand. Ing Hong's eyes narrowed. The Jiang country is a country founded by Dao cultivators. He does not have the qualifications to use this 5-dragon jade seal. I only need to spread the news, even if I cannot take back the 5-dragon jade seal, that Xiaohua will definitely be the enemy of all the Confucian cultivators in the hidden immortal continent. Yes, that's the second reason. The Prime Minister's father nodded. Moreover, according to what I know, there's a rule when Daoist sects establish a country. One must participate in the Yaotai Assembly, pass a competition, and win the so-called Imperial Preceptor's lot. Only then can one have the opportunity to establish a country. This was also one of the methods that the Confucian cultivators used to control the Daoist sect. If Xiaohua wants to help the Jiang country recover and become the imperial advisor of the Jiang country, he must participate in this Jade Pavilion meeting. Since he wants to participate, then wouldn't my king have an opportunity to take advantage of it? Prime Minister, this doesn't seem to be killing 3 birds with 1 stone, does it? Ing Hong said with a smile. It's more like a cunning rabbit having 3 burrows. Ha ha ha, who cares if it's killing 3 birds with 1 stone, or if it's a cunning rabbit with 3 burrows, or if it's a 3-pronged plan. We just need to get rid of Xiaohua. Xiang Fu also laughed loudly. After the two of them finished laughing, the Prime Minister's father seemed to have thought of something. He rolled his eyes and said, That's right, my king. What other requests did the immortal emissary make? Oh, of course, if my king has any taboos, you don't have to tell me. I didn't say it before because I didn't want my father to worry. Now that it's come to this, why should I avoid it? Ing Hong said in a low voice. Huh. His father was stunned and blurted out. What does Immortal Master want 100 nascent soul stage cultivators for? How could the nascent soul of a Dao sect cultivator be so easily obtained? Didn't Qin Haoyue of Jiang country self-destruct his nascent soul? I don't know either. Ing Hong laughed bitterly. I have already sent people to find more than 10 nascent soul stage cultivators and imprison them in the front of the Jade Mountain. When the immortal emissary comes, they will be offered to the immortal emissary. However, after listening to my father's words, that immortal emissary, I'm afraid that he's trying to hide something. Forget it. No matter how the immortal emissary arranges it, we don't need to ask too much. We just need to do our own things and borrow the power of the immortal emissary to do our own things. His father didn't seem to understand either, so he urged, My king, hurry up and make the arrangements. In addition, my king still has to prepare his troops and horses to attack the Jiming nation and the Yifeng nation, so as not to attract the attention of the immortal emissary. Yes, I know. Ing Hong said in high spirits. Just as he was about to raise his head to summon the palace guards, he suddenly laughed. Oh right, I still have a plan. Oh, I'm all ears. His father asked curiously. Father, perhaps you still remember the underground elemental stone mine in the Black Cloud Ridge? Ing Hong laughed. Dao sect Xiaohua broke the 5 brocade cloud map, and the entire Black Cloud Ridge fell into his hands. That Black Wind King, Golden Eagle King, and Myriad Lion King are probably not his match, and the underground elemental stone mine will definitely be discovered by him. Jiang country is gone, and my Bronze Pillar country has lost this battle. I'm afraid that I can't leave any soldiers there to mine. If my Bronze Pillar country retreats, Jiasa country will definitely take down the entire elemental stone mine. When I spread the news that the elemental stone mine is ownerless, not to mention others, the other cultivators of the Dao sect will definitely swarm over. At that time, haha, that's right, my king's plan is brilliant. His father laughed out loud again, stroking his beard and saying, The Dao sect is the best at internal strife, and furthermore, there is an elemental stone mine there. Even if Xiao Hua doesn't die in the hands of my Confucian cultivator, he will still be skinned by the Dao sect cultivators. Palace guard Ing Hong smiled, regaining his previous calmness. He walked to the jade steps and sat behind the dragon table, ordering, Bring all the officials back to the imperial palace. Of course, Xiao Hua did not know that the undercurrent had already reached his feet. He was once again dragged into the vortex of the battle between the immortals and Buddhas. He only urged the other primordial spirits to cultivate with all their might, to heal the injuries of his body. Unknowingly, more than 100 days had passed. Xiao Hua was living a carefree life. On this day, he was reciting the Yellow Court. Suddenly his heart stirred, he put down the scroll, raised his head, and frowned as he looked outside the 5 brocade cloud map. After staring for a moment, Xiao Hua sighed again, and muttered to himself. Sigh, people go into seclusion for years, decades, why is I so bitter? But it's just been 100 days, and there's some karma. It's really troublesome. Immediately, Xiao Hua was about to get up, but looking at the 5 cheese thunder in the 5 brocade cloud map, and sensing that the nascent soul in his lower dantian was struck by the thunder, Xiao Hua was really reluctant. After thinking for a moment, he first put away little thunder, and then his mind fell into his middle dantian. At this time, Confucian cultivator Xiao Hua was wearing Confucian clothes. Seeing Jade Archive Xiao Hua come in, he cupped his hands and said, Student greets fellow immortal, Tizke. You've only learned Confucian cultivation methods for a few days, and you're actually so rotten? Jade Archive Xiao Hua waved his hand, saying very disapprovingly, You and I are Taoist cultivators, it's better to call me fellow immortal. Confucian cultivator Xiao Hua smacked his lips and said, Fellow immortal is wrong. That was then and this is now. Previously, student was ignorant, and cultivated the 5 cheese unification according to Taoist cultivation methods. How could I have known that the cultivation method was incongruous? This Jade Archive Xiao Hua's face was slightly hot. Confucian cultivator Xiao Hua was actually talking about himself. Confucian cultivator Xiao Hua ignored Jade Archive Xiao Hua's embarrassment and continued. I remember that when fellow immortal saw legalism soared in tent that day, You once mocked Huan country's sword cultivators for their nondescript cultivation of flying swords. But when you think about students' previous cultivation, wasn't it also the same? The pot calling the kettle black is nothing more than this. That's a problem with the cultivation method. Jade Archive. Xiaohua was somewhat unconvinced and said with a smile. Now that we've obtained the Heavenly Heart and Heavenly Book, and know the cultivation method of the 5 Qis unification, we're already on the right track. A so-called title doesn't count for anything, right? The path of Confucian cultivators is to be scrupulous, to the point of no compromise. Even if it's the path of the mean, it must also be neither deviated nor slanted. Confucian cultivator Xiaohua shook his head and said, "Fellow immortal, don't you see that today's Confucian cultivators are all pursuing power, falling into the Taoist cultivation method, to the extent that they're neither Confucian nor Taoist, and instead have cast the essence of Confucian cultivators to the back of their minds. Now that student has entered Confucianism, I should follow its method and keep its form. Only in this way can I truly learn the essence of the 5 Qis unification." Good. Jade Archive. Xiaohua clapped his hands and said with a smile, "Fellow immortal, you're right. I'm very fortunate. I'm afraid fellow immortal's body has also changed now." Correct. A bit of true qi rises in the chest. The myriad of sword intents disappears from the body. The 5 Qis unification clouds appear, and the 3 flowers converge. Crown gives birth to immortality. Confucian cultivator Xiaohua nodded, and his body flashed with true qi of 5 colors. The sword shape of the core of loyalty from before was already in a state of collapse, and a small 5-colored dot faintly appeared where the core of loyalty was originally. Congratulations, fellow immortal. Congratulations. Jade Archive. Xiaohua cupped his hands and said with a smile. Confucian cultivator Xiaohua returned the salute. Congratulations, congratulations. Although we're both fellow immortal, we're also one body. Does fellow immortal have something to do? Hee, I naturally have something to do. Could it be fellow immortal doesn't know? Jade Archive. Xiaohua smiled and pointed outside. Confucian cultivator Xiaohua nodded. Fellow immortal's idea is somewhat unimaginable, but it's worth a try. If it succeeds, both student and fellow immortal will benefit greatly, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Then I'll have to trouble fellow immortal. Jade Archive. Xiaohua turned around and left the middle dantian. Not long after, he returned, holding the 5 brocade cloud painting and the 5 silk handkerchiefs in his hand. Confucian cultivator Xiaohua didn't stand on ceremony. He took the 5 brocade cloud painting and spat out true qi from his mouth. The 5 brocade cloud painting slowly rotated in the middle dantian, and separately landed in 5 different places of the middle dantian. At the same time, the originally rich true qi in the middle dantian was slowly repelled by the 5 brocade cloud painting outside the great formation. Good. Jade Archive. Xiaohua saw this and immediately beamed with joy. Although he already knew from the auction at Jiaxing Lu that Confucian cultivators cultivated righteous qi, which was fundamentally different from the spiritual qi of heaven and earth cultivated by Taoists. The true qi in his middle dantian was formed from spiritual qi of heaven and earth, and there was simply no way to convert it. His previous idea was to use his current true qi as a foundation, and slowly think of other methods based on comprehending the 5 Qis origin cultivation method. But now he saw that the 5 brocade cloud painting formation could actually be arranged in the middle dantian. The righteous qi in the void was produced according to the righteous qi's refinement method, so naturally it could be converted into righteous qi. This true qi was the purest true qi of a Confucian cultivator. Chapter 35-31. Seeing that the 5 brocade cloud painting formation in his middle dantian had been completed, an awe-inspiring qi immediately came out of Xiaohua's body and rushed into his middle dantian. The previous qi also went through the 5 brocade cloud painting formation and went back into the formation. Good. Jade Archive. Xiaohua clapped his hands again. This way, I don't have to read the scrolls to distinguish the awe-inspiring qi. Fellow immortal is wrong again. Confucian cultivator Xiaohua was about to take out the silk handkerchief in his hand, but after hearing Jade Archive Xiaohua's words, he stopped and shook his head. The awe-inspiring qi can't be compared to the spiritual qi of heaven and earth. The spiritual qi of heaven and earth is the spirit of heaven and earth, the origin of heaven and earth. This awe-inspiring qi reveals the human heart and humanity. If fellow immortal doesn't read the scrolls, this awe-inspiring qi is dead. How can a pool of stagnant water be more useful than a clear spring? The scrolls of ancient scrolls are like small streams, pushing through the old to bring forth the new. Flowing water is nothing more than this. Yes, I understand. Jade Archive Xiaohua was convinced. The path of Confucian Cultivator was not so simple. He had just touched the door of the 5 Qis unification. He really didn't know what was behind this door. Confucian Cultivator Xiaohua raised his hand again, and the 5 silk handkerchiefs fell into the formation. Immediately after, the immortal execution stage appeared. Confucian Cultivator Xiaohua landed on the immortal execution stage and waved his hand. A thunderbolt appeared out of thin air and fell on the immortal execution stage. When the 5 Qis righteous thunder fell from the immortal execution stage, it passed through Xiaohua's body and fell into the nascent soul in his lower dantian. Seeing the awe-inspiring qi of the 5 brocade cloud painting formation rushing into his body, Confucian Cultivator Xiaohua was very satisfied. He smiled and said, "Fellow immortal is right. Now I have to review my homework. I won't see you off." Finished speaking, Confucian Cultivator Xiaohua no longer paid attention to Jade Archive Xiaohua. He let the 5-colored heavenly heart sit cross-legged on his head, and took out a scroll. He shook his head and began to read. Jade Archive Xiaohua came out of his middle dantian with a laugh. He looked around and waved his hand, taking the heavenly star formation jade talisman into his hand. Now the 10 primordial spirits were all cultivating. Instead, Xiaohua himself had nothing to do. Perhaps I should find some time to visit Luzhen. When Xiaohua had this thought, he couldn't help but feel homesick. Green-robed Xiaohua could be considered diligent. He had already taken the time to look at the map of the hidden immortal continent. Xiaohua knew that there were at least several hundred Lu towns. If Xiaohua wanted to see all of these places one by one, it would take him at least 8 to 10 years. Forget it, we'll talk about it later. Xiaohua slowly walked out of the quiet room. He saw Lu Yi sitting cross-legged in front of him, seemingly cultivating. Wang Bianfei was holding a horsetail whisk in his hand, guarding it. Seeing Xiaohua come out, joy appeared on his face. He hurriedly went forward and bowed in greeting. "Master has come out of seclusion." And Xiaohua smiled and asked, "Lu Yi is bitterly cultivating, why aren't you cultivating? Although you've become a junior brother, you can't be lazy." "Hee, how would this disciple dare?" Wang Bianfei knew that Xiaohua was joking, so he hurriedly replied, "Disciple and senior brother agreed that when one of us cultivates, the other will be on duty. Today is senior brother's turn to cultivate, so disciple will be on duty." "Hee, that's right." Xiaohua smiled. "You brothers being harmonious is exactly what this old man likes. You have to know, now that you've already stepped into the ranks of cultivators, the years in the future will be long. Your lifespan will be endless, and your cultivation will have no end, but a person's feelings may have an end." "Yes, disciple understands." Wang Bianfei smiled and said, "Senior brother is very good to disciple, and disciple's relationship with senior brother is also not bad. Elder, listen to what disciple is saying now." "Oh, that's right, if you didn't say it, this old man wouldn't have been able to tell." Xiaohua smiled. That's right, Wang Bianfei had always been speaking the language of hidden immortal continent, and Xiaohua couldn't tell at once. "This is all thanks to senior brother." Wang Bianfei smiled as he looked at Lu Yi in the distance. Xiaohua nodded. He was really satisfied with the two of them. Then he thought of something and asked, "That's right, where's your mother? How is she now?" "Oh, disciple's mother has a residence outside the cave, and senior brother Qin personally asked about it. It's not good for her to change her language for the time being, so disciple can only slowly teach her." Happiness appeared on Wang Bianfei's face again. "Senior brother Qin? Oh, it's Qin Xiaoyao." Xiaohua smiled and said, "He did a good job. In the future, when you enter my sect, you have to treat people who are kind to you well." Disciple understands. Wang Bianfei nodded his head like a chicken pecking rice. Wang Bianfei was exceptionally intelligent, even more so than Lu Yi. However, his knowledge was lacking, and he wasn't as flexible as Lu Yi. However, What he heard and saw in these 100 days already let him know that he might have already arrived at an unfamiliar place. However, he didn't reveal a single word about where he came from, and didn't even ask about it. Lu Yi also didn't ask a single word, because they knew that when the time came for them to know, Xiaohua would definitely let them know. That's right, master. Seeing Xiaohua sitting on the seat of honor, Wang Bianfei thought of another matter, and hurriedly said in a low voice, "Disciple still has something to report to master." "Oh. Speak. Did you encounter any problems in your cultivation?" Xiaohua asked curiously. Disciple. Wang Bianfei was actually a bit hesitant. Disciple knows that master is a Dao cultivator, and disciple also cultivates Dao magic. However, a few days ago Copper Pillar Academy sent a lot of scrolls, and among them, some are about painting disciple. Ha ha ha, this old man understands. Xiaohua laughed. Didn't this old man say before? Whether it's Confucianism, Dao, or even Buddhism, as long as you want to cultivate, this old man will agree. At the same time, this old man can also give you pointers. Thank you, master. Wang Bianfei was really beaming with joy. After all, Confucianism and Dao cultivators had different cultivation methods. These days, Wang Bianfei also learned a lot from Lu Yi, and he was really afraid that Xiaohua wouldn't agree. However, Xiaohua frowned again. Bianfei, you have to think clearly, whether it's Confucianism or Dao, you have to focus on one thing. And if you do two things at once, I'm afraid it's not good. If you can't do both, you might as well focus on one thing. Hehe, master. Don't forget how you took me in as a disciple. Wang Bianfei listened and said with a smile, Senior, don't look at how senior brother and disciple cultivate together. It seems that we cultivate at the same time, but disciple has taken advantage of it. Ah. Xiaohua suddenly realized and said curiously, could it be that you? At this point, Xiaohua didn't say anything else. Wang Bianfei also said with a smile, Master is right, disciple does have this talent. Ahaha, good. Xiaohua looked at Lu Yi who was cultivating with his eyes closed. This Lu Yi was born with a unique talent. In the future, Xiaohua would be able to teach him the Buddhist sect's secret technique. This Wang Bianfei in front of him was actually able to cultivate in his dream. His 1 day of cultivation was equivalent to 2 days of other people. Furthermore, his divine sense could even surpass other people. These two unnamed disciples of his were not bad. You should first cultivate Dao's Qi refinement technique, and then paint. When the time is ripe, this old man will teach you Confucianism's cultivation method. Xiaohua said with a smile. Thank you, master. Wang Bianfei was naturally happy. Right. How is Yuanya recently? Since Xiaohua returned to Black Wind Ridge, he first fought with Leng Qingge and the others, and then went into seclusion, so he didn't have the chance to ask Yuanya. Brother Ya. Wang Bianfei was stunned, scratched his head, and said embarrassedly, Disciple has been guarding the cave and hasn't seen Brother Ya and the others much. It seems that Brother Ya is always with senior brother Qin and the others. Xiaohua nodded. Wang Bianfei had only been in Black Wind Ridge for 100 days, and it was already good that he could solve the language problem. If he asked too much, he probably wouldn't know. Xiaohua thought for a moment and said, Let the head of Copper Pillar Academy in. Wang Bianfei stared blankly for a moment. Then a look of reverence appeared on his face. This was what he originally wanted to report. That handsome Do Shanjun had already asked to see Xiaohua 3 times. Today after he came, he even waited outside the cave. It seemed like he was determined to wait for Xiaohua to come out of seclusion. After waiting for Wang Bianfei to leave, Do Shanjun came in not long after. Do Shanjun stood in front of Xiaohua, looked him up and down and bowed. Disciple greets Daoist Xiao. No need to be polite. Xiaohua raised his hand and said, You and I are old friends. As the saying goes, no discord, no concord. Daoist Xiao is too polite. Do Shanjun slightly smiled, and his not-so-small eyes flashed with a layer of indescribable charm. Head, what business do you have here today? Xiaohua asked straightforwardly. I heard that you have come 3 times in a row. Do Shanjun said. Disciple has come under the orders of the head of Copper Pillar Academy to deliver a copy of the books in my library. Today is already the 3rd time, and there are a total of 1,126,403 books. Daoist Xiao, please accept them. Do Shanjun took out a scroll from his bosom and handed it to Xiaohua. Oh. Xiaohua frowned, took the scroll, and opened it to take a look. Inside was the number of the 1,000,000 books, and it was clearly written. He couldn't help but be surprised. Why didn't you use your jade eyes? Oh, could it be that this collection of books are all books? Correct, it is indeed 1,000,000 books. Do Shanjun said proudly. If not, how could disciple come 3 times? If I use my jade eyes to record the books in my library, I can only know the meaning. How can I see the form and obtain the essence? Daoist Xiao admittedly has my Confucian cultivation, but I'm afraid that these... Oh, then many thanks to the head of Northgua Academy. Xiaohua only understood at this moment, and said with a solemn face, this gift is very heavy. Head of Copper Pillar, please tell the head of Northgua Academy that I will definitely agree to whatever he says. Good. Do Shanjun's heart finally settled. In Daoist Xiao's eyes, there is no difference between Confucian and Daoist Xiao. Disciple thanks Daoist Xiao on behalf of Confucian. No need to be polite. Seeing that Do Shanjun had no intention of getting up, Xiaohua was somewhat puzzled and asked again, Head of Copper Pillar, is there anything else? Indeed. Do Shanjun nodded, looked at Wang Bianfei and Lu Yi, and said, Disciple has an extremely important matter to ask Daoist Xiao. Just say it here. They are all my disciples, Xiaohua said with a smile. Chapter 35-32. Haha, Do Shanjun laughed and said, These 2 are really lucky to be able to become Daoist Xiao's disciple. However, although Daoist Xiao doesn't avoid these 2, he still has to consider them. There are some things they can know, and some things they shouldn't know. Xiaohua frowned, got up and said, All right, come with me. After saying that, Xiaohua led the way to the quiet room. Do Shanjun naturally followed Xiaohua. After Xiaohua sat cross-legged on the praying mat, Xiaohua smiled and said to Do Shanjun, Minister, my quiet room can be said to be simple and crude. There's nothing to entertain guests, so I'll have to trouble you to stand. Do Shanjun didn't care about Xiaohua's embarrassment at all. He only looked up and said with a smile, Daoist Xiao's cave is really simple and crude. How come there's not even a spirit field or a pill room? Xiaohua smiled faintly and waved his hand. This old man was just speaking up to hear. Xiaohua was stunned. He raised his eyebrows and sneered. Do Shanjun, you actually dared to spy on my cave? Yes, with Xiaohua's current cultivation. Even if Do Shanjun used a Confucian cultivator's magical ability to check him, he would definitely know. Moreover, although his quiet room wasn't protected by the capital star formation, it was still protected by a formation. How could Do Shanjun see through it? Do Shanjun's words were obviously trying to tell him something. Haha, it's not spying. I just casually took a look. Do Shanjun looked at Xiaohua and casually sat opposite him. His tone seemed to be casually. Xiaohua said coldly, Fellow Daoist, Do is really interested. You're so interested in my cave. You actually casually took a look and saw so much. What a magnanimous Confucian cultivator. Do Shanjun shrugged and said helplessly, Daoist Xiao is cultivating in seclusion. I have something to ask, but I can't find it. Naturally, I'll casually take a look to see if the master is avoiding me. This is human nature. It has nothing to do with Confucian cultivators, right? Xiaohua sighed and shook his head. Fellow Daoist Do, what exactly do you want? This place is already quiet. Feel free to say it. Spiritual Master, please set up the capital star array. I'm afraid that the words I'm about to say will be overheard by others. Do Shanjun said with a smile. Is it that serious? Xiaohua's heart stirred as he asked curiously. Do Shanjun nodded. Not bad, however. Without waiting for him to finish, Xiaohua was shocked again and cried out. What? You actually know about the capital star array? Student not only knows about the capital star formation, but also knows that Reverend's capital star formation has some flaws. Otherwise, it wouldn't have collapsed under the attack of the 5 brocade cloud painting. Do Shanjun's words shocked Xiaohua even more. After some thought, Xiaohua waved his hand and laid down the capital heaven star formation. Then he went straight to the point. Do Shanjun, speak. What do you want? Unexpectedly, Do Shanjun didn't answer. Instead, he asked with interest, "Oh, Taoist Master Xiao is really amazing. He actually has the Dutian Star Formation Jade Talisman. Did Taoist Master Xiao refine it himself? Or did you get it from somewhere else?" Xiao Hua became impatient and waved his hand. "This is my personal matter. It has nothing to do with fellow immortals' visit, right?" "Of course it has something to do with it," Do Shanjun said with a smile. "If this jade talisman was refined by Taoist Master Xiao, I can tell Taoist Master Xiao how to refine it. If this capital heaven star formation was obtained by Taoist Master Xiao, I can help Taoist Master Xiao to complete this capital heaven star formation." "What?" Xiao Hua almost jumped up and said in surprise. "Do Shanjun, who are you?" At this point, how could Xiao Hua not know that Do Shanjun was definitely not a simple Confucian cultivator? "Taoist Master Xiao, don't worry. I am the Dean of the Copper Pillar Academy. There is no doubt about this," Do Shanjun said with a smile. Now and in the future. Xiao Hua's face was somewhat gloomy. He narrowed his eyes and looked at Do Shanjun, whose face was still incomparably handsome. Moreover, Do Shanjun said again, "I will definitely not interfere with Taoist Master Xiao's matters of establishing a country, revenge, and so on. I will only be the Dean of the Copper Pillar Academy. I will not overstep my duty." "All right, since fellow immortal has spoken so clearly, there's no need to hide anymore. Let's see the door and see the mountain. This Xiao doesn't know what this Xiao has that Confucian cultivators can covet." Xiao Hua nodded. "Hee. Do Shanjun stretched out his finger and shook it in the air. He said with a smile, "You naturally didn't have it before, but now you have it." 5 brocade cloud painting. Xiao Hua's eyes narrowed as he looked at Do Shanjun. Fellow immortal Do's appetite is not small. Taoist Master Xiao is wrong, Do Shanjun said with a smile. "I have already seen the 5 brocade cloud painting before. Why should I look for Taoist Master Xiao now? Oh, what is it?" Xiao Hua was startled, his mind raced. He had obtained a lot of things from Lung Qingge and the others. He really did not know what Do Shanjun wanted. Suddenly his heart lit up, and he laughed. "So fellow immortal Do has taken a fancy to the 5-dragon imperial jade seal?" Indeed, the 5-dragon imperial jade seal was an item that could suppress one's luck, and was extremely important to Confucian cultivators. This Do Shanjun must have been entrusted by the king of the Copper Pillar country, right? Unfortunately, Do Shanjun still shook his head. "I have already said that I am not interested in the matters of Jiang country and Copper Pillar country. What I want is the 5-Qi Thunder." 5-Qi Thunder? Xiao Hua was truly surprised. He looked at Do Shanjun in disbelief. "What do you want that for?" "I'm sorry, I have no comment." Do Shanjun shook his head in fear. "If Taoist Master Xiao knows about this, it would be harmful." "I'm sorry, I have a use for the 5-Qi Thunder. I'm afraid I can't give it to fellow immortal Do." Xiao Hua shook his head and replied. This time, it was Do Shanjun's turn to be shocked. He looked at Xiao Hua from head to toe and asked, "What is it? Taoist Master Xiao, how did you discover the effects of the 5-Qi Thunder on the nascent soul stage in such a short period of time?" Speaking to hear, Do Shanjun rubbed his chin with his hand, and nodded with interest. "Not bad, to be able to cultivate your nascent soul into a hidden nascent soul, and to be able to condense your nascent soul into a nebula. Your luck is not just a little bit better than others. Furthermore, to dare to release your nascent soul from the 5 brocade cloud map. Your guts are enough for you to discover the secrets within." "Do Shanjun, who exactly are you?" Xiao Hua could no longer sit still. He jumped up and placed his hand on the small universe bag, and asked cautiously. Sit down, sit down. You're already a nascent soul stage grandmaster. And your strength is comparable to a spirit-severing stage cultivator. Why are you still so rough?" Do Shanjun raised his hand and laughed, as if he was talking to a junior. "You don't have to care who I am. You just have to know that I won't hurt you." Do Shanjun was so fearless, and even sat here to negotiate with him. At least his attitude made Xiao Hua feel amiable. If he really did have any ill intentions, why would Do Shanjun wait until now? Thinking to hear, Xiao Hua sat down and said, "I have a use for this item. I can't give it to fellow immortal Do." "All right, This item indeed has an inconceivable effect on condensing a nascent soul. Do Shanjun pondered for a moment, then nodded and said, Then I won't take it from you. However, could Taoist Master Xiao let me take a look at it? This Xiao Hua was somewhat hesitant. After all, this item was extremely important to him. And Do Shanjun was an enemy, not a friend, who knew what he would do if he gave it to him. Do Shanjun's face turned cold, his expression somewhat unkind, and said indifferently, Xiao Hua, you don't trust Ren so much? If I had a heart, why would I be so long-winded with you? As soon as Do Shanjun said this, Xiao Hua's quiet room suddenly became as cold as winter. A kind of indescribable fear emerged in Xiao Hua's heart. This was a kind of omen that Xiao Hua couldn't resist against danger. Xiao Hua was startled, then said with a smile, Fellow Immortal Do, you think too much. I was just thinking. This 5-chi legitimate thunder is so important. Even the Beigua Academy didn't let fellow Immortal Do know about it. Now I can't let fellow Immortal Do see it for nothing, right? Ha ha ha. Do Shanjun laughed, thinking about how Xiao Hua blackmailed by Hou Yuqin and the others on the Black Wind Ridge, and how he mercilessly took away Lung Qingge's Qianquan bag. How could Do Shanjun not know that Xiao Hua wanted to obtain benefits from him? While laughing, the coldness in the quiet room disappeared. Do you want the Du Tian star formation, or the method to refine jade talismans? Since Do Shanjun knew about Xiao Hua's narrow-mindedness, he didn't beat around the bush and directly asked. Xiao Hua beamed with joy, patted his small Qianquan bag, and took out the 5 silk handkerchiefs from his middle dantian, then said, Fellow Immortal Do should take a look at this 5-chi legitimate thunder first. What star formation? What jade talisman? It's easy to talk about. How could Do Shanjun not see through Xiao Hua's little scheme? He only glanced at Xiao Hua's smiling face, then took the silk handkerchiefs. Do Shanjun didn't hide from Xiao Hua. A clear light slowly flashed in his eyes, and in an instant, a pure white appeared in his eyes. That pure white was extremely fast, and it didn't take long for it to diffuse into his pitch-black eyes. At first glance, Do Shanjun's eyes looked like a black and white grid. Tiny runes appeared on this black and white grid, and the runes were like ants rushing out, filling Do Shanjun's eyes. See Daosect runes. Xiao Hua sucked in a breath of cold air, and a kind of unimaginable feeling appeared in his heart. He stared at Do Shanjun without blinking, knowing that Do Shanjun was using a Daosect divine ability that he didn't know about to probe these 5 silk handkerchiefs. As the runes in Do Shanjun's eyes changed, a kind of indescribable aura gradually emitted from Do Shanjun's body. Although this aura only leaked out a trace, it was enough to shock Xiao Hua once again. Strange, Do Shanjun didn't seem to notice Xiao Hua's gaze. He muttered, raised his hand, raised his index and middle finger, and pointed at his own forehead. Bang! A strange silver rune exploded in Do Shanjun's forehead, then disappeared in a flash. Looking at Do Shanjun's eyes again, those runes suddenly flash with 5 colors, extremely bright. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.